Hello, everyone, and this is Bond, Mikey Bond, Canadian super spy, and welcome to the Mikey Seuss 4 channel. Today is something I did originally plan for June 7th next week, but I was forced, due to circumstances beyond my control, to move it up to today, which is good in a way because my wife is away doing some errands and doing a little bit of shopping. So I told her my stream's going to last probably about 3 hours, at the very most 3.5. It might go 4. But it looks like we already got one person watching us online. So thank you. Hello, John DeMarco. The link is at the very top there, John. If you want to pop on in, we'll get a panel started. We just got started, so we haven't really gone into the gist of how the Bond franchise got started. So go ahead and click the link if you want, John. And greetings to you, by the way. Thank you for coming. I am sorry about the rescheduling and ahead of time, so just letting you know. So we're looking at a full slate today. We'll get you briefly started on how the franchise originally got started, which was on television back on October 21st of 1954 with Climax. It was a murder mystery series, which was on for a couple seasons. And in season 1, episode 3, they did a short. It was about, an hour long, I think it was. And it was based on Ian Fleming's Casino Royale, which he had just wrote a couple years before. Oh, thanks, but I don't think I can join the panel. Oh, okay, John. Well, as long as you can stay for, I appreciate your help. I think I've got most everything set up okay, but let me know if something's missing or because I need your help to set up something. But I think I might have got everything set up all right. Is it showing on YouTube also? Yeah, is it? Okay. According to this, it is. It's that it's live. So we'll start with Climax, 1954. An actor who played Jimmy Bond, they called him, car chaser Jimmy Bond, was Barry Nelson. And the villain was played by the late great Peter Lorre, who of course did a lot of horror films. Um, and he played the chief. Linda Christian played Valerie Mathis, which was a mix of Vesper Lynd and Renee Mathis, who was a double agent. And she supposedly is the girlfriend of Lashif in the piece. And then Michael Pillay, or Pale, the way I read it, he played Clarence Leiter, or the forebear of Felix Leiter later on for the CIA. So basically, what happened in that was, you know, Barry was told by uh, Jimmy was told by his buddy Leiter that the chief had to be stopped because through Baccarat and other card games that I can never spell things. It's really crazy. So yes, we have my best friend one of my best friends, John DeMarco, came in saying greetings. He does say thanks, but I don't think I can join the panel. That's cool, dude. I just love you being here and watching. And that's what I told him. I said, thanks, John. Or that's John. Appreciate you much. So we are caught up on the chat for now. And so after the climax broadcast, we had to wait about 8 years. Then in 1962, well, actually, I should say 7 years, because then in 61, two producers by the name of Albert Cubby Broccoli and uh, W. Saltzman decided to finance and put together the first of what they hoped to be many James Bond films. And of course, they did all of their hiring, finding who they wanted to be Bond. There were a number of actors that tried, couldn't get because they wanted to make him a Scotsman, and they wanted to, get his dialect and pronunciation, everything in there, and they wanted him to be smooth, calm, debonair, suave type of spy, devil may care type of character. And what was amazing is that Albert had recalled seeing this actor named Sean Connery uh, in a bit or in a part that he did in Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which came out a few years before this, and it was in color and everything. So Albert had seen him, he remembered him, and then later, when they gave him the screen test, well, Connery aced it. So, they figured, well, we've got our James Bond. And of course, he had originally came from Scotland. So he had the accent, he had it all down, he had everything. So then after that, they had to go ahead and choose what they called a Bond girl. And the first Bond girl was played by Ursula Andress. And as most guys will tell you, her most iconic scene coming out of the water uh, onto the beach, carrying a couple of seashells and sitting underneath the mango tree in a nice, beautiful bikini. And of course, she was a buxom blonde, so, right? Let your imagination run wild. But I just remember the scene as a little kid going, wow. I don't know what other guys' impressions were, okay? I never got to see the film in theater. In fact, the first one I got to see in the theater was Goldfinger when that came out, and I was only like, 2 or 3 years old, I think it was. My dad took me to see it because I thought it was cool. But we'll wait on that for a little bit. But anyway, so they got Ursula Andress to play Honey Rider. They got your Bond villain, Dr. No, played by Joseph Wiseman. And then your Felix Leiter was played by Jack Lord, who later did on TV the original and the better version of Hawaii Five-O as Steve McGarrett. So, there was your cast. You already got your villain, your CIA informant guy to help you, your Bond girl, and you got Bond. And the plot was simple. It wasn't the best plot, but it was great. Yes, Gorillas. I know I'm 6 days early. He says I'm 6 days early. Yes, it was due to circumstances beyond my control, my friend. But I do have the StreamYard link set up if you want to come on board. John is here too, so say hello to John. But he says he doesn't think he could join the panel, so I'd love to have somebody come up here if you can. So let me know, okay? Anyway, after we got Dr. No, the plot was simple. There was a agent named Commander Strangways and his brand new secretary that were out there. And Strangways was investigating with Leiter's helper, Quarrel, was trying to figure out what's going on. with toppling, which is throwing the gyroscope off a rocket, so on and so forth. So basically, the plot has him go to let's see. Oh, yeah, I know what you're upgrading. Okay, yeah. So anyway, after they, uh, after they find out that Strangways disappeared, and they found the secretary dead, and they went there. Goes there to Jamaica, and already he's intercepted. Hello, LDG, free the net. Welcome, welcome to the stream, my very first live stream. Thank you for coming. John DeMarco's here, and Gorillas Random Thoughts. Some of my best guys. Boss gets pissed if I stream while at work, and he's already. Oh, sorry, Gorillas. Well, Gorillas. I'm gonna be here for at least 4 hours. So if you can, you know, anytime pop in if you want. Kapla, hello, bird of prey. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming. Like I said, I apologize. It was just circumstances beyond my control. Otherwise, I would have held up to it next week and done it. But I'm sorry. I had basically got a crash course of trying to hook up my stream and everything last minute, and then I got these really nice headphones from Suzanne. So I worked till 5. Well, Gorillas, I plan to go as long as I can. Okay, because I really would like you to come and hang out here for a little bit. So I'll try to go as long as I can. Okay, no promises. But I appreciate that you're here right now. That means the world to me. It means you guys do care, and I love you guys. So, getting back to the subject anyway. So like we said, after Doctor No, and I'm just going to go through the titles real briefly, just kind of throw out there the people I know, the actors and other actors, and so forth. So after Doctor No, we've got From Russia with Love, and in that one, you've got a guy named Red Grant, who's played by the wonderful Robert Shaw, who ended up in the movie Jaws later as Quint in that one. And he plays Red Grant. He's a really good uh, henchman for Spectre. And because of the death of Dr. No, they want to kill Bond. So they want to get him. One question: who is James Bond? Well, if you want to go back to the origin story real quick, Gorillas, James Bond was actually named after Ian Fleming's one of his buddies. I can't remember his actual full name, but I believe his first name was Peter. He knew him during the Second World War. He was a buddy of his in cryptography and intelligence forces, and he considered him like the quintessential spy at that time because he had all the mannerisms down and everything. So when Ian started writing the books, and then but he had to come up with a name for his friend. So then what he did was he found this book called Birds of the West Indies, like a dictionary book for birds, and he saw the writer, and the writer's name was James Bond. So then he just took the name James Bond, the writer name, from the Birds of the West Indies. That's who James Bond is. Now, who actually played him? Well, I figured it out. If you include Barry Nelson from the Climax TV show that played Jimmy Bond, then if you include the 1967 parody movie, which I hope you get one day, Gorillas, to play, Casino Royale, by the way, is what it's called. There were 3 actors I know that played James Bond as a parody, and that was David Niven, Peter Sellers, and a little known guy named Woody Allen. That's a trivia question. Then one other Bond film that wasn't really considered canon, but it wasn't made by Eon Productions, which was Broccoli and Saltzman, was Never Say Never Again, which came out on October 7th of 1983, and actually followed a previous Bond that had shown it that summer, which still had Roger Moore in the role, and that was Octopussy. So he did Octopussy June of '83, and then in October of '83, so as to not collide with two Bonds, they put out Never Say Never Again. So, and here's an interesting fact about that: the song Never Say Never Again is sung by Lani Hall, but the song was originally written by none other than the Bee Gees in 1969, and it's on one of their albums. So yeah, look it up. I found that in Wikipedia. So very cool information. So so after From Russia with Love, which you have Red Grant, you've got a guy that we had recently we did a stream of UFO. Jill did, and guy in their sideball who played uh what was his name again? Constantine or something. The chess player who was supposed to be a henchman. And then you had number two, and the lady that was in it, and of course Blofeld, who was he wasn't revealed yet, so nobody knew who he was yet. And then basically they were going after what they called a decoder machine known as a Lecter. That was the basic plot, and Spectre was trying to get the Russians to go up against the Americans because it's the Cold War, and the British. And so eventually Bond's able to defeat Spectre's plan and get the Lecter and get it to the British so that they have all that stuff. And that's a great second one. Now, the third one is Goldfinger. Goldfinger is my favorite of all the Bond films. I have my top three, but that is my number one. It's quintessential Bond. You got the plot is that there is a guy named Ulrich Goldfinger who wants to have complete world domination of gold. And the way he figures he can do that is to set off an atomic bomb, a nasty little bomb made of cobalt and gold, at Fort Knox to knock out the American economy. We don't know if Spectre has anything to do with it, but we do know that there's a Mr. Ling who comes from the Red Chinese. And we recall that Dr. No actually said that the Chinese rejected his plans for toppling or things that he was doing. So he left them with 10 million of their dollars. There must be some kind of thing that the Chinese were doing at that time, linking with Spectre at that time. But we don't know that. All we know is that Ulrich Goldfinger's there, and he's the main villain. He has a great henchman, played by Harold Sakata, who plays Oddjob. And this guy has a bowler hat that he can take off. This is, Sakata is a former sumo wrestler, big heavy guy and whatever. And one of the most fun scenes, of course, is he takes the bowler hat. They're at the golf course, and Bond is just beating him in golf, using a trick against him. And Oddjob throws his hat and cuts off the head of one of the statues. And Bond asks him, "Well, what does the club secretary have to say?" He says, "Nothing." He says, "I own the club," which is a great line. And the one, uh, the one lady in it who eventually becomes a turncoat to Goldfinger and basically becomes his girl is played by the late great Honor Blackman. She plays one of the famous, or if you want to think of it another way, infamous names, which is Pussy Galore. I'm only going to say that name once. Okay. So that's a great plot anyway. So it's my favorite, and he stops Goldfinger, saves Fort Knox with less than 7 seconds left on the bomb, kills Oddjob, then of course he kills Goldfinger out a window in a plane, and you know, and so it's a wonderful movie, and I hope you guys do get a chance to see it someday. It's available. It's out there on DVD. You can get a Blu-ray, and it's also preserved in the National Archives. Uh, that American Film Preservation Society puts it in their archives and stuff. Goldfinger's in there, so it's preserved for all eternity. You know, till whenever. So yeah, that's a wonderful film. The next one after that, of course, is Thunderball, and Thunderball. Uh, I believe the guy's name is Rudder, and he plays Felix Leiter in this. That's the last name. The actor is Rudder. He plays Felix Leiter. Domino. Uh, oh, like I said, I have easy access if I need to know something. Let's see. It's really hard to figure these things out. There we go. Right. Claudine Auger plays Domino. Adolfo Celli plays uh, the villain. Luciana Paluzzi plays the villainous. Rick Van Nutter. Nutter, not Rudder. Sorry. Rick Van Nutter is Felix Leiter. Is Felix Leiter in this one. And the basic plot is that uh, Largo, that's the character that Shelley plays, Largo wants to, he kidnaps two of these Vulcan, British Vulcan plane missiles, two atomic bombs, and he wants to detonate them in two different places. One, I believe, is Miami Beach, and the other one, I believe, if I remember the plot and the screenplay directly, was Washington, D.C. Hey, hi, Gap After Dark, and hello, LDG Gorillas. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Gap. Gap, I've been apologizing because it was circumstances beyond my control, and that's why it's early. I apologize. Hopefully, you guys will get to come in. I'll be lurking while I'm eating lunch. Okay, we're planning to go at least 4 hours. I hope. I would like Gorillas to at least pop in here for a few minutes before when he gets off work or whatever, or whoever else comes in. John's here too, or John DeMarco was here. LDG's here. Kapla, Bird of Prey, and Gorillas. So everybody was coming. That's really, I appreciate it. All of you guys for being here for me. Anyway, so just going really short, like I said, on these movies real quick. Thunderball, so like I said, basic plot: two atomic bombs, detonate them in two different places. Of course, Bond stops them, but he he gets sidetracked first by Luciana Paluzzi, who is an assassin, and she drives him in a car like about 130, 40 miles an hour, and he says, "I just don't like to get driven." So yeah, that's a crazy one. And then of course Domino, Claudine Auger, she's wonderful in this. And then after Thunderball, we had You Only Live Twice, and this is actually one of my favorites because, well, for location wise, it's number one in my book for locations because it's Japan, and most of the movie is in Japan. And basically, the plot in that is that Spectre is taking rockets that are orbiting the Earth or the Moon or whatever, and they're stealing them. They're bringing the astronauts back to their secret lair, which is in a volcano. Volcano, sorry. It's supposed to be an extinct volcano, but they built it to make it look extinct and cover it and everything. And uh, you know, Bond's in that. Miyahama is one of the girls that he is the Bond girl. He has two Japanese actresses that are Bond girls in this one. And then you see Charles Gray, who plays Henderson, who is his contact in the movie. And you'll find out that Charles Gray plays Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever later on. So, and he was also the narrator in, uh, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It tells you about the time warp and jump to the left and jump to the right. Yeah, yeah, Charles Gray. Yeah, he's funny. He's a funny one. So anyway, he plays Henderson, and then let's see. Okay, and then Blofeld is played by the wonderful Donald Pleasance, and we finally get to see what he looks like. And he's got the bald head. He's got the cat, which is a white Persian, beautiful breed, by the way. Uh, and has diamonds around its neck and everything. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful cat. And so he also has a henchman. His name is Hans, German, bodybuilder type. He's always there to protect. So, and then of course, uh, Bond hooks up with the head of the Japanese Secret Service named Tiger Tanaka. And so Bond and Tanaka, they gather forces. They get their, Q helps out, which is, still played by Desmond Llewellyn. Oh, excuse me, George Mansfield. And so Q helps him out. He flies over the different volcanoes in the area. What they call Mitsu is the island. And he runs into a little bit of trouble. He's got these people in helicopters, tiny one-man helicopters, which he's got like four of them that are chasing him. His uh, little Nelly. So you see a great battle in the air. Excuse me, and he knocks out the four, and in different ways, blows them up or whatever. And then he says they're doing the Russian launch, and then Spectre kidnaps the Russian cosmonauts and takes their uh, module. And, well, all hell's going to break loose. There's going to be World War III, between the United States and Russia. And of course, that's what they planned all along. That's what the Chinese planned with Spectre, was to have them go to war, so then the Chinese would step in and do their thing. But of course, like in anything, when you got a big villain like that, Bond's gonna find a way to stop him, and he does. And Blofeld figures out a way. He has a way to self-destruct the place, so it knocks out most of the agents that were sent by Tanaka, his ninja force. And so, after the explosion of the volcano, which then is now active, and so, Bond ends up with Miyahama, and that's it. So, they're laying together, whatever, in a raft and everything. Okay, so after that, in 1969, there was a crisis, a minor crisis. Well, it was actually a big crisis because Connery, after doing You Only Live Twice, was having salary issues with the producers and with the franchise and the production studio, and they weren't agreeing. Like, they were still at an impasse of what they felt Connery deserved for playing Bond all those movies he's done already. So there was that issue. Well, the producers were thinking that they could hire somebody on the cheap, and they didn't know who that could be until they got everything resolved with Sean. So they had a couple people that came in to read for James Bond. And the craziest story, of course, is that George Lazenby, who ended up becoming Bond for the one and only film on Her Majesty's Secret Service, was basically, he was from Australia. He was an actor. He said he did a few things, but I don't know. I think he lied about a lot of stuff to the producers, Broccoli and Saltzman. So then, in that way, I guess they believed him in what most of the stuff he said. That's why he became the James Bond in that film. And well, what we learned about James Bond in that film is he has a family crest, which comes from Sir Thomas Bond, a relative, an ancestor, and their motto is "The world is not enough," with the crescents and the gold balls, all that stuff on the crest. So we find that out. We also find out that Blofeld is now played by Telly Savalas, who loves you, baby. I've been wanting to say that all day. Who eventually played Kojak in a TV series, with the lollipop sucking cop. And, yeah. So he plays Blofeld in this movie. And then uh, Bond, Bond doesn't really have one Bond girl in this. He actually has several. I think there's at least 7, maybe 8 girls. But it's this clinic. He runs into Irma Blunt, who was played by Ilsa Steppen, henchwoman in this case of Blofeld. So she introduces him to Blofeld. He goes by another name. He changed his name, and he goes to Blofeld's lair, which is up in the Alps, and he meets these women. And what these women are supposed to do is they're hypnotized and uh, like like zombies in a way, but they're told to deliver these packages that they're going to be given for Christmas, and inside them is a viral agent that will cause sterility in animals, plant life, sea life, all sorts of things. So then that would cause the world to starve, and the inspector could say, "Hey, I have the antidote, but I want claims to my title." You know, uh, to become a baron and all this other stuff, and to be forgiven for past crimes. And it's just so crazy. I mean, Bond goes to visit M, uh, at his place of residence, which you never see again in this one, and then uh, it tells him the whole thing, and then he goes and he escapes, and during this time he runs into DiVincenzo, who is a rival uh, criminal to Blofeld's organization. And he meets the rival's daughter, Teresa, Countess Teresa DiVincenzo, who's she prefers being called Tracy. And that's played by the wonderful Diana Rigg, who later on did the Avengers TV series, another spy type of series with Patrick Macnee, who then, of course, if you want to go the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, Patrick Macnee ends up, becoming a help to Bond in A View to a Kill later on, when it's Roger Moore playing the role. So, yeah, so you have all that tie-in. And so Tracy at first doesn't know what to do with Bond and doesn't like to be part of a contract. So then, you know, he talks to his father. Bond talks to his the father at his birthday celebration, and you know, and then he says, you know, it would be, how is it that we, it's wonderful that we be friends, but we can also be lovers. And then that's how they get started. And a great song by Louis Armstrong, All the Time in the World. And you'll hear that song again at the very end movie. Uh, at the very end and during the course of the movie, uh, in No Time to Die with Daniel Craig. That comes later. And so Tracy and Bond get very close to one another. And so then Bond, goes and does his job. He gets up there. Uh, he tries to have Tracy's father help him in a daring daylight attack on the base because nobody in MI6 will touch him because they already heard his demands, and now Blofeld's just waiting for a response. And of course, he has Tracy as a prisoner, and Bond gets there with her dad, and they shoot up the place, and he's sliding, and he kills a few people, and guns are guns are dangerous because he was playing a professor, with glasses on and everything. But anyway, so supposedly he gets rid of Blofeld through a bobsled chase. Oh, hey, Jay. And there's Jay.
Hey,
Hi, Jay. What's up,
how
my
you
buddy?
doing?
I'm doing all.
Don't know how long I'm gonna be able to stay on the stream. I got to go to the grocery store real quick.
Yeah, that's where my wife is right now. She's just doing a little bit of shopping. We paid our bills this morning for the
Mhm.
month, and then she's just doing a little shopping. I told her
I
we
didn't
go.
know when you was gonna do this. I thought it was gonna be around Saturday or so.
Well, actually, it was going to be next Wednesday, and then because of circumstances beyond my control, I had to move it up to today. So I've been apologizing ever since to everybody that's been coming into the stream. I saw gorillas. I saw bird
Technical
of prey.
difficulties. Please stand by.
Well, it's actually real life that interfered, my friend.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Yeah, I was just briefly going over some brief uh, information about each of the films and stuff. But since you're here, we can get right to the gist of it. And and I wanted the panel to answer their own questions, questions I posed to them, and see what
Right.
they like. Uh, I guess the first question I want to ask you, Jay, is really what is your top three? I'll tell you mine, and then you go ahead and
All
tell
right.
me your top three Bond films, like of all the films.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
What's that, Jay?
You didn't hear that?
Oh no, I didn't hear it. No, what happened?
Oh, okay. It was a text message that notification. It
Oh,
was so loud. I thought you heard it.
I I didn't really hear it. No, sorry. I got
Well,
my
that's
I got my new. You can see I got my new headphones on, and I got a lot clearer
right.
speaking. Anyway,
Right.
so yeah, so if you can, go ahead. Tell me what your favorite three are that
Well,
you can
you
name
go
off.
ahead and tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll start with number three. Um, I've actually got I've actually got these three from three different decades. So
Okay.
number three, yeah. So number three I made was Casino Royale with Daniel Craig.
Uh,
Not only because he is related to my wife on her father's
oh,
side, yeah, they're actually blood related. He's her cousin,
wow.
blood cousin. Yeah. So, so if I had to come up with the top five, I had to include Daniel. I could not leave him out. My wife
No.
would kill me. Yeah, she would kill me. So
Or
I
James
put him as
Bond would come and kill you.
exactly, exactly. Um, okay, yeah. So my number three is Casino Royale. I thought it introduced, uh, Daniel Craig's Bond in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, he's a womanizer. Yeah, he drinks. Yeah, he gambles. Obviously, in this, but the thing is that he doesn't. You know, he. The thing about it is that we find I this is how I found out what N's real name was. Uh, Dame Judy Dench played M in the film, of course, and
Right.
her real name is uh, Olivia Mansfield. Now you remember
Oh,
that?
okay.
Yeah. Now you remember that scene where he broke into her house and he says, "I thought M was a random letter. I didn't know it meant utter one more syllable and I'll have you killed."
Oh,
And that's one of my favorite scenes. And I didn't know what that meant. And then my wife looked it up, did some digging, and she says her real name, the character name is M, but her
yeah.
real name is Olivia Mansfield, and she is the granddaughter of the original Q. Was played by that one guy in Doctor No, but then after that was Desmond Llewellyn, and even though his name was
Oh,
Q, even though his name was Q,
okay.
his real name was George Mansfield, the
Oh,
grandfather
okay.
of Olivia.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that was his granddaughter. I was like, wow, okay, there's the link right there. So, yeah, I liked it, like I said, because to me, it was a unique and different way of introducing Bond to the now. The soundtrack, of course, is awesome. David Arnold,
Uh,
who can why I loved John Barry growing up. Don't get me wrong, I think John Barry was the best one of them all, but honestly I
right.
really enjoyed the soundtrack. I thought that uh, Chris Cornell has a great Bond song. You Know My Name, it's a
Mm.
great Bond song. My second one is uh, License to Kill with Timothy Dalton, and the reason why is because Timothy Dalton, he's a Shakespearean actor. He was born to play the role, but he didn't get a chance because of, like we said, circumstances beyond my control. They said he was
Right.
too that he was too young at the time. When Roger
Yeah.
Moore took the role, they said Dalton was too young, so he couldn't do it. So then when he did his second movie, which is License to Kill, I thought this has to be the perfect scenario. It was during the late '80s. Terrorism was just starting to get on the rise. You saw that. Daniel's Hot Topics. Come on in, Daniel. How is Daniel's Hot Topics? Jay
Uh,
Aldridge is here with us today.
Hi. Hi,
How
Jay.
you doing?
I'm good.
We're we just got started. We're
Yeah.
we're talking about we're just talking about different aspects of James Bond. I was just going briefly into some of the early stuff, and I was just finishing telling Jay about my top three James Bond films of all time. So I'll ask you after Jay gives his response, and then I'll ask you a couple of other different questions relating to the franchise. So
hmm
now, my third one I told Jay was uh, the Casino Royale that introduced Daniel Craig as Bond. That was in 2006. And then in 1989, my second best is Dalton, his second Bond film in 1989 with License to Kill. And then
Uh,
my number one goes all the way to my birth year, 1965, for Goldfinger with Sean Connery. So yeah, those are my top three. And of course, I've always said, I mean, I'll debate it with anyone until the day I die, but Goldfinger is the quintessential Bond. It has a perfect plot. It has a perfect villain. Uh, you have a lady, played by the late great Honor Blackman, who plays the most famous, or in this case, infamous name in Bond lore, with Pussy Galore, which still makes me laugh. And and the thing is that she turns against Ulrich Goldfinger at the last minute and doesn't put the poison in Delta 9 nerve gas, and you know the
You know
basic
what
plot.
Sean Connery says when she says her name?
Yeah,
I must be dreaming.
I must be dreaming. Yeah. Well, yes. John DeMarco says. I'll say this real quick.
I don't see how the censors let them get away with that, or the title movie Octopussy.
I don't know how they were able to pull that off.
I,
Honestly.
I guess because it was made in not in the United States that they got away with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, John. And that's a good point. Yeah. They said Major Boothroyd in The Spy Who Loved Me because that's what Barbara Bach's, character said to him when they were getting off there, uh, you know, in the Sardinia, when they were getting off the boat
Yeah,
and the car came off the boat. Yes. They said his name was Boothroyd. But I asked my wife and she said, well, uh, according to the books, his original name was George Mansfield. And then
hmm
later on, when Dame Judy Dench came into the fray and played the female M, she said her name was Olivia Mansfield, which is why he was about to utter that name, that it was for last name instead of first name. And that's why she said, utter one more syllable and I'll have you killed. So Boothroyd might have been his secret spy name, John, in the movie, because it was Major Boothroyd. And I thought that in From Russia with Love, towards the end of that, he's
right.
asking for. I think he's asking for Maxwell, but he's not. He's asking for Mansfield. But you have to hear it really clearly to get that.
Yeah,
That's how my wife was able to call that one. All right, Jay, I want to hear your top three. Go for it. I want to hear you.
my top three.
Your top
My
three.
third one, I can't remember the title, but it's the one where Pierce Brosnan is captured at the beginning of the movie, and he's got to escape off the boat, jumps off the boat, and goes to the hotel and
Oh, Die Another Day?
rents a. Huh?
It's Die Another Day.
Oh, okay. That's the one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that
He
one.
yeah, he got captured. Well, originally, remember, he went after the uh, he went after the main villain who actually changed his identity later on in the film.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
the Korean
That's the
general.
one with Halle Berry.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
who
I
only did
I
it.
own that. I own that
Yeah.
DVD.
Okay, so Die Another Day, and that was
And
in 2002. Okay, so that's your
oh,
third one.
okay.
What's your second?
And I loved it because they were kind of trying to make a spinoff of it for Halle Berry's character to make
Yeah,
movies with her, but
right.
it didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't pan out
Um, my
just as well.
second one is
Yeah,
A View to a Kill,
nice.
and it's
1985.
because it's Moore's last movie, and it's my first movie that I ever got to go see in the theater
Wow.
of a
That's
Bond film.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did you love the locations? I mean, he was in Paris. He was outside of Paris, France. That mansion is
hmm
actually that hole with you know the stables and everything is a real place, which is outside of Paris.
And
They
that
got that
scene
on
on the
Rome.
Golden Gate Bridge is
Yes,
memorable.
yes. Even though I have
And
to say the matte photography is a little iffy on that one, but that's okay.
I like
It was
Grace
fun.
Jones in it.
Yes.
And also, I love the title music of it,
Oh yes, Duran Duran.
Duran Duran. Yeah,
Oh man, yeah, you can't
I
ask for better
listen.
than
I
that.
listen to it a lot.
Oh
And
yeah, no,
my
it's a great song. Yeah,
my first, uh, my number one would be License to Kill.
License to Kill. I
Yeah,
agree.
uh,
That sounds great. Yeah, that's ironic. It's my number two, and it's your number one. Yeah.
And
I wish
also,
that Dalton had done more. I really wish. Yeah.
now also it's the same for my top actors who played James Bond. Pierce Brosnan would be number 3, Roger Moore number 2, and Timothy Dalton as number 1.
And that makes total
Uh,
sense. You know why? Because
I
he's,
I
like
watched
I said, he's a
License to
Shakespearean name.
Kill like crazy. I'm telling you, I
I
love
know.
that so much.
I know. That came out in 1989. And
And you know
it,
the reason why he only did 2 movies.
go ahead and tell me
There,
because I, yeah.
there. I have heard there are multiple reasons. One, Timothy had a chance to do another movie, and it was predicted that it would be his breakout role and make him a huge movie star. It didn't come out to fruition. The movie just fell through. Didn't even come to production, and he was very
Wow.
saddened about that because he said, "I could have stayed James Bond." And number 2 reason was Pierce Brosnan was out of his contract with Remington
Remington
Steele,
Steele,
and
right?
he's always wanted to play James Bond. But I
He's
don't know
actually,
why.
well,
I don't
yeah,
know
but
why he only did 4 movies. He could have done 10 or 12.
absolutely. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what I was going to say was is that uh, Pierce Brosnan, you could go all the way back to the early 80s when Roger Moore was getting ready. I think it was after he did Octopussy, okay? And I think it was after he did that that he was just getting ready to say, hey, I'm ready to hang it up right now. And
Yeah,
Pierce was going to be in the wings to get ready
yeah,
to step in, but because he was under contract with Remington
yeah,
Steele, he couldn't do it. And you
yeah.
know what
He
I thought
never
was
wanted
really,
to do it.
like I said, what I thought was really sad was is that at the time that Dalton wanted to do it before Pierce, he was too young. The producers, both Saltzman and Broccoli, said he's too young. He can't do it. But he's a Shakespearean actor, and he, you
Hmm.
know what? He did a great job. I think you knew this. He was Prince Arbori in Flash Gordon, and he did a great job in
Right.
that. I mean, considering that everybody else was just not that good in it, but I thought he was. I
I,
thought he did a great
I
job.
know that they would change things and everything, but I would love to see a Remington Steele movie. I love that show.
If you could bring them both back, including the lady, the original, the actress,
Yeah,
I forget her
Stephanie
name,
Zimbalist.
Stephanie Zimbalist. Yes, thank you, Stephanie Zimbalist. Yeah, if you could bring them both back, that would actually be very cool. I would see
Her
it. I
dad,
would want to see it.
her dad actually was in a couple of episodes of Babylon 5.
Oh, he was. Was that
Yes,
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.?
yeah.
Yeah, his
He
dad
he
or her
played
dad.
a industrial um, tycoon who had invented a drug that would bring the telepaths under his control, the
Right.
government's control.
That's
But
cool.
Bester found out and had him killed, his henchman killed, and had his wife, who was Michael Garibaldi's ex-wife, kidnapped.
Wow. All right, Jay. I want to get Daniel to pop in here. Daniel,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and hear your top three, my friend, if you're still there with
Um,
us.
yeah. Well, the first Bond movie I ever bought was in 1997. I went to Jumbo Video. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no. First of all, this was like okay. I gotta go right back even further. I went to a mall one time in Brampton, and
Okay.
I think it was either Stone. It was either City Center or Shoppers World. I don't know, but I went to a mall and I crossed the TV and I saw a James Bond movie, and that was the first time I ever saw one. And I saw Femke Jensen, outside of
Yes.
a train,
Yes.
and that was the scene where in Goldeneye where they were
Goldeneye.
waiting. They were like they captured the Bond girl and they were taking her to a train or something. And then I saw Pierce Brosnan's James Bond in a tank, looking at the train, and I thought
Yeah.
that was so cool. And
it
I
was.
remember, I remember seeing Femke Jensen's hair. You know how it was all tied up, it was all wrapped up. When I saw it, I was like, I never saw that before, and I was like, oh, she's so hot. And I want this
Oh, yeah.
movie. I want this movie. I want to look at her. And I want to look at her more. But you
Yes.
know,
Yeah, she played the villainess
yeah,
Xenia Onatopp.
Xenia on the top, yeah,
Xenia
and
Onatopp. Yeah. And he goes, Onatopp? And she goes,
yeah, and
Onatopp.
on top, yeah, I remember on top of the TV there was Tomorrow Never Dies box. So I thought it was the
Yeah.
same movie. I
No.
thought it was the same movie, but it
No.
wasn't. So I got confused, and I remember one time a couple days later I went to Jumbo Video.
Yeah.
It was a nice video store where you can get popcorn, and I remember getting some really good stuff there, like
I
zombies.
remember you telling me that it was like one of those cool video stores that you can get. Hi, Thomas Potts. Hello. Welcome to the chat.
So like yeah,
Thomas,
I
yeah.
remember like getting some cool video games there, like Zombies Ate My Neighbors for Super Nintendo, and a lot of good stuff there. And then I
Cool.
remember one day, so that day when I went there, uh, we picked up Tomorrow Never Dies,
Wow.
and I thought it was the same movie, so I brought it home.
Oh, the second
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah. So I brought it home, and because I thought to myself when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And I thought one of those two Bond girls on the box was Xenia, right? Xenia. I thought it was one of those two, but they weren't.
No,
One was Michelle
it
Yeoh.
was, yeah, and
Yeah,
then the other was Terry Hatcherby.
yeah. So
I
I
call,
brought
well,
it home and I
that's not her
watched
whole
it.
name. I call her Terry Hatcher because of Lois and Clark: The Adventures of Superman. That's what I
Yeah,
saw
me
her in,
too.
and she was awesome in that. So.
So I brought it home. I watched it,
Yeah.
and I realized it wasn't the same movie, but I liked it anyways. I thought it was so
Sure.
awesome, and
Sure.
I just loved it so much. It was so great. You
And
never forget your first time.
oh, of course, and don't forget, Michelle Yeoh choreographed that entire fight herself, along with Vic Armstrong, who is the stunt coordinator in the movie. And the two of them just put together the whole fight, and then she choreographed it like ballet moves and stuff. So when you see her like kicking butt and stuff, Michelle Yeoh is like a female Jackie Chan, so she's like falling over everything, kicking butt, and taking names and whatever. And then of course Bond walks in, and he knocks him out, and she goes, "I could have taken him."
Yeah,
Yeah, that was Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Yeah,
I
the
love that movie.
Chinese External Security Force. That's what she was a part of. I'm sorry, I just have all this warehouse of brain information
Yeah,
about Bond.
Bond is awesome. So,
It is awesome. Okay, so that was your third one. What was the next one?
well, no. Tomorrow Never Dies was my first one,
Okay,
and
yes,
my second one,
yeah,
I remember, like The World Is Not Enough was starting to film,
yes.
and I really wanted to see it, but it was filming, so I was like, okay, so I can't see it now. I gotta wait for it to come on theater. So what I did was
Yeah.
I got my second Bond movie, which was Goldeneye.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
So I watched.
I was just laughing at what
Yeah,
Gorilla
I got Goldeneye, and when I got Goldeneye, I was like, oh, so this was the first one I actually saw at the mall. So I watched it, and I loved it. It was so good, and
Awesome.
I'm like, Pierce Brosnan is my Bond, man. He was like so awesome, right? So
He was a lot of people's Bonds, ironically enough, in the '90s. He was.
yeah, he
I
was.
agree with you there, and I know what Jay has said about him, also. But yeah, for a lot of people growing up in the '80s, '90s, Pierce was your guy. In the
Yeah,
'90s, he was. I mean, and for some people, like I say, when they watch the Bonds that Daniel Craig has done, and they're old enough to remember those Craig movies, that's them. Craig is their dude. Even though he was blonde headed and not black, or whatever. So he never
yeah.
changed it. And what was your third one?
And my third one, okay, so like after I watched Goldeneye, my third one was Sean Connery in what's it called, Never Say Never Again. That was my third one, and I watched it, and I remember at the time I was trying to compare the old Bond movies to the new Bond movies, and I was
Sure.
like, like there's something different. The new ones were highly explosive, right? There was explosions all the time, but the old ones, they
Yeah.
were more classical. There weren't as many explosions, and I didn't like it at first, but now I love it even more than the new ones.
Yeah, it had a. You know what was great about the Connery films, which why I loved Goldfinger so much. What was so great about them was that they had their own flow, and I think Jay might agree with me on this. They had their own flow, their own natural ambiance. You knew the locations
Absolutely.
you were going to. Yeah, you knew the locations you were going to. You knew what Connery was all about, playing the role. So, and I mean, it took a lot of people to get to him, for him to do it first. But he set the bar so high that like the other actors will even, if they were still alive. I mean, rest in peace, Roger Moore. But you know, for example, but Dalton and the others, and Lazenby even said they had to go to a higher standard. Every time that they came in to play Bond, they knew that Connery was number one, and they had to try to reach that level of superiority that Connery had already established. And
Now,
that's basically
I have
where it
a
comes from.
question.
Yeah,
Was George Lazenby the first James Bond, or was it Sean Connery? Because I remember
Connery.
George
Yeah, Connery
Lazenby did one
started
movie.
right. Well, like I said at the beginning, if you go way back to the beginning, like in 1954, he was known then as card chaser Jimmy Bond, and he was played by a little known actor named Barry Nelson, and that was on a TV show called Climax. That's
Oh, okay.
really when it went way back that far. But in 1962, with Dr. No starting the legacy, it was Connery first. And then when there
Okay.
was a dispute between salary
Yeah.
contract and whatever was going on, Lazenby agreed to fill in because he actually lied to the producers that he knew what he was doing. Well, I
Right.
don't know if that's true, but
I
he
liked
but he
the
only got
movie
to
he
do that
was
one
in.
time. Yeah, I still like the movie. Don't get me wrong. On Her Majesty's Secret Service has a
You
lot of
know,
great
they
elements.
actually mention Lazenby's character of James Bond being married once in a License to Kill.
Yes, that's true.
That Bond was
Well,
married once.
actually, yeah, actually, it was Romanova, what her name was, played by Barbara Bach in Spy Who Loved Me, who just like rattled off and said, one lover, one married, and killed, and he says, that's enough. And he says, you're sensitive, Mr. Bond. He says, about certain things, yes.
I can't remember her name, but the woman that was in License to Kill, the one where he falls in love with her at the end.
Carrie Lowell,
Um,
that was the
yeah,
actress. Yeah, she
wasn't she
she
in
played,
Law and Order
yes.
a short time?
Yeah, well, no, long time. She
Yeah.
she actually went from that Bond movie to later on to TV, and she'd been in a lot of other she did CSI, she did Law and Order. Yeah, she did a lot of different
I liked
crime
her in that
dramas.
movie.
Yeah, she was very good. Yeah.
And it was
Uh,
the one, I think it's well, I'll say this, it's the only Bond movie that I remember that
yeah,
Q actually helped Bond in his mission.
she did, and she was one of the first to help her. I mean, to help him.
No,
Sorry,
no, I
to
meant
help him.
Q.
No,
Yeah.
Q was in License to Kill more than he was in any other movie that I can remember of.
That's right, because he was in the field. He was helping
Yeah,
the
that's what I mean. I think that's the only time he's been out in the field.
yeah, that
Or
was
am I wrong?
yeah. I can hold on a sec. It's so funny. It's weird the way they spelled it, and that was by John Glenn, who's a great director of
Yes.
Bond films. Yeah,
Now they
right.
did a
So
James Bond movie in Louisiana, or at least they depicted they were in Louisiana. The Voodoo movie, I call it. I
right.
love that. I love the sheriff in that movie.
Oh, Live and Let Die. I love that movie.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that sheriff.
yeah. So they
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Sheriff J.D. Pepper or something. He was supposed to be a recurring character. He was in Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun. He was supposed to be a recurring character in the future movies, but then for some reason
He
it
just
didn't
didn't do
pan
it.
out.
Yeah. Okay. I just figured out the name. I had to look it up. Sorry about that. Pam Bouvier. She was the CIA agent that helped out Bond
Yeah,
in License to Kill. Yeah, Pam Bouvier. That was her
I
name.
like that. Joe Don Baker was in a lot of Bond movies.
He did. Yeah, he did three. Remember, he played the role of the arms dealer in oh, what
He
was
was
that
a
again?
CIA agent.
Yeah, Jack Wade in two movies.
Yeah,
He was in GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies
yeah.
as
And then he
Jack
was
Wade.
in The Living Daylights. He dressed up as I think he dressed up as like a general or something in the final battle with Bond.
Yes, yeah,
Probably,
he was an
probably.
arms dealer. Yeah, he was an arms dealer that was working with uh, in the Living Daylights. So yeah.
My favorite movie of Joe Don Baker's, one of them is Walking Tall, but my favorite is he was playing a detective called Mitchell,
Mitchell.
and
Okay.
it was supposed to be a series, but he went on another series called I Shy,
Okay.
but
That's
it didn't
cool.
do good.
Yeah, but that's
But I
cool.
love Mitchell. I love how MST3K rips Mitchell, and Joe Don Baker hates the people of MST3K for doing that.
Okay.
They
Um,
did another movie of his. I can't remember what it is, but he plays a Texas sheriff, and he's got to go across the country to find the man that killed his boss.
well, that's cool. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a quick recap of the chat. This is how we got started. I'm glad that you and Daniel came in because I did star up the StreamYard link, and I said the above link will bring you into the panel. Hope you have fun. And I said we may start a few minutes early. It depends on who's willing to help me on getting the stream going live. But I think I figured it out myself, believe it or not. So, and then I said, looks like we should start on time. And then we had John DeMarco came in. Greetings, John. And then he said, thanks, but I don't think I can join the panel. And so I was sorry to hear that, but I'm glad he was the first one to come in. And that's John. Appreciate you much. Then my buddy Gorillas came in. He said, "You're 6 days early," and I know he's yelling at me in a way,
Hey,
but he's also kind of upset.
ask Gorilla what that person's first name is, so I can put it on our church prayer list.
Oh, I know it. It's Ron. Pop's
Ron.
first name is Ron. Yeah, RON.
Okay.
Ron.
I will put it
Yes.
on all five of our church. As a matter of fact, I'll get my aid worker to put it on her church prayer list if they have a church
Thank
prayer
you,
list.
Jay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I had to bug Pop one night, and lucky he was in a stream, and I said,
Put Ron
"Please,
on
I need
y'all's
your
church
first
prayer
name.
list.
I need, yeah, I was asking him. I said, I need your first name, please. People are praying for you." And LDG Free the Net came in,
Hi, LDG.
and we also
Hey,
had
buddy.
Gorillas who said, "Boss gets pissed if I stream while at work, and he is already PSMing." So I'm like, "Well, Bert, I'm sorry. Well, Gorilla, don't get in trouble, okay? Please.
No, don't get in
I don't want to
trouble.
get you fired. Your wife will kill me.
No.
She'll come and hunt me down. Or your little mini one will. Kapla, bird of prey. Hello, bird of
Ah,
prey.
Cat of Prey is here.
He is here. And then we also had Gorilla saying, I work till 5. Gorilla, this might be an endless stream. We don't know. Okay? I'm shooting for 3. I might go 3.5. The most I go is 4. Because I'm doing this
Dear
Part of the
God.
reason is, yeah, well, I can talk forever. I can talk forever. I'm a great person
I
with
know
that.
this. Don't worry about it,
You
dude.
know this well. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Jay. Um, anyway, so then Gorilla said, one question, who is James Bond? Well, I think I
Oh
explained it
God.
to him. I know, it's a
That's
silly
like
question.
asking who is Captain Kirk.
Exactly, exactly. And then,
I actually
let's
had
see.
one person ask me that one day back in the late, I think it was 86, 87. I'm going like, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home was the hugest, one of the hugest hit movies of
Yeah.
that year. And you're saying, who is Captain Kirk? Come on.
Okay. Oh, Gap After Dark came in, so he said, "Hey,
They
Mikey."
did a huge uh, commercial campaign for that movie. I guess they thought that the movie wasn't going to do good, so they did a lot of commercials. But they didn't
I
need to
heard
do a
that.
lot of commercials. That thing was huge. It
It was
made
huge.
over 160 or 80 million dollars on a
Yeah, did
19 or
well.
21 million dollar budget. Shoot,
Yeah, it did a lot. Yep. Just all right, Jay. So Gap After Dark said, "Hello, LDG."
which I
Gorillas,
have to
hello,
say,
everyone.
I know this is a James Bond stream, but I have to say this. I
Yeah.
don't know why people get a flack on Star Trek Five, the Final Frontier, what John calls, um, what does he call it? Life is but a dream. That's what he likes to call the movie. Life is but a dream.
I can
But
see you.
I love that movie. I watch it all the time. I
I
love that
know.
movie.
I know, and people give you a hard time about it, but it has an endearing quality. It really does. Um,
Did you know that a lot
Go
of
ahead.
people? Wait, did you see that when Scotty, like, okay, well, no, okay, there's a rumor or a theory that says Scotty did transwarp modifications to the Enterprise, and
Yeah.
that's how they reached the center of the universe
Uh-huh.
so fast. Because think about it, if they went from the Earth to the center of the universe, they wouldn't get there in like what 20 minutes. It would take
No.
them. It would take them like I don't know how long
30, 40
centuries.
years.
They so yeah, and the thing about that too is that you had you have so many. I mean, there's like
I'll
black
tell you the reason
holes and
why
like
they got
portals.
there so fast. They didn't know at the time how far it was.
Yeah.
And so they just assumed, well, we have warp drive. We can go to warp 9. We'll get there in a couple hours. No, no.
Okay. I'm gonna ask
That's the
the
reason
next
why they
question.
had to redo the warp calculations for the
Yeah.
next generation.
Yeah, I was about to ask you your next question on Bond here, but let me finish the chat real quick. Okay, so Gap After Dark says, I'll be lurking while I'm eating lunch. John said, interesting trivia about M's name. I'm no expert, but I thought Q's real name was Boothroyd. Yes, they mentioned it that way, but like I said, according to the novels, George Mansfield. So if you want to go by the novel, absolutely. But if you want to go by the movie, Boothroyd, Major Boothroyd. And I think it was Max Boothroyd, if I want to be technical. Thomas Potts said
Mikey,
hello.
I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've
Okay.
heard a rumor so many times that Woody Allen did a James Bond movie called Casino Royale. Is that true?
He did. Yes,
Yeah, I
that's
think I
true.
saw him.
That's true. I actually mentioned it earlier in the stream before you came,
I
Jay.
have got to try to find that movie and watch it. Or
I'll
is
tell
it
you.
Peter Sellers who did it?
Okay, I'll tell you about that real
Because
quick.
they kind of look a little alike.
They do, but they're funny as hell in it. But there's three of them actually that I remember. David Niven was playing Bond originally, okay, in the film.
Uh,
He's supposed to be like the original Bond. And
right.
then Peter Sellers was also playing like he was Bond. And then Woody Allen was playing like he was an American
Everybody
Bond.
wanted to be Bond, apparently.
That's it. Well, and guess who? And guess who their Bond girl was in that parody? And it came out in 1967. Ursula Andress was in that film.
Really?
So you got the first, yeah. So you got the first Bond girl that hooked up with Connery, and then 5 years later, she gets called back to do this parody film, and she's the Bond girl in that. So it's like,
Oh, okay, okay.
so that's why Gorilla says here. He says so it's like mixing up Flash Gordon with Flesh Gordon, and I remember
There you
Flesh
go.
Gordon. Gorilla says I'm not the target of wrath at the moment. Thomas Potts said Bird fell asleep. I'm sorry, Bird. Well, come on back, Kapla. I'd like you to be here and join us. We don't know how long we'll be here, but it'll be at least more than 3 hours. I'll tell you that much. Thomas says, like he always does, it's past his bedtime. Thomas says, if a movie doesn't make $900 billion, it's a flop. I partly agree with you there,
Nowadays,
Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah, I partly agree with you there, Thomas. But there are actually many movies that made less than 900 billion, and they weren't flops. And we could go all day and tell you which ones they were.
Ishtar.
Yeah,
Oh God,
Ishtar was bad,
that
and
was considered for
and
the longest
Megaforce was
time the
bad.
worst movie ever made.
Yes, and Heaven's Gate was a bad one too. And there was one called Megaforce, which wasn't a great one either. That was the only movie I ever walked out on. That was about motorcycles that did stuff, and I was like, no.
I
My
tell
dad
you, a
walked
movie
out on
I
that.
hated, and it was
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams' movie. It's about a lizard or something, some kind of monster.
Okay.
It was a series of movies. I'm trying to think of the name.
Huh. Oh, Cloverfield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hated that movie.
There were
I
three of
walked
them.
out of the middle of it. I said, "This is stupid. I got to get out of here before I blow my brains out."
Yeah, there were three of them. There was Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then there was Cloverfield Paradox. All not very good
I
movies.
so much
Except
wanted to walk out the right behind the theater was the railroad tracks.
yeah.
I wanted to walk right in front of a train for being in that movie. That was a stupid movie. Oh, and
Hey,
another one that I hated and I
yeah,
went to see
yeah.
was Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I mentioned that one. That was Danny DeVito and
And
Billy
Billy Crystal.
Crystal, and it had that
Oh,
woman Ann Ramsey, who played the mama.
oh, I hated that
You
movie.
hated that one? Oh, come on!
I,
I thought that was
I, I,
hilarious.
I stayed for the whole thing and was miserable through the whole thing.
I'm sorry that happened to you, man. Um, okay, we're just down to the last two here. Okay, so Gorilla says Galaxy, not Universe. Okay, I think that's Universe, but that's okay. I will go spell check a freak show on you, Gorillas, because you're a buddy and a brother. And then Thomas Potts says, at the time of Trek 5, they didn't plan out the size of the Federation. That might be true. Yeah, I
That's
don't think they
true.
really
That's
set
true.
up. Yeah, that's true. I don't think they really set that. So,
And
but
they didn't know that there was a black hole in the center of the galaxy at that time.
that's true. Well, and well now, but they did establish though in the original series. Just going to that for a moment, they did establish the barrier, right? That was the one
Right.
where Gary Lockwood's character
Well, it wasn't
Sally
called the
Field,
Great Barrier. It was called the Edge of the Galaxy or something.
supposedly. Yeah,
They were leaving the galaxy to go to another galaxy.
that's true. That's true. Okay, so let's go with Jay again. Jay, you don't have to
Yeah.
mention your three going into Bond films again. You don't have to mention a top three worst. Just give me your worst Bond film you ever saw. Tell me your worst first, and then I will let Daniel tell his, and then
Um,
I'll tell mine. Go ahead.
it will be all of Daniel Craig's movies,
Every one of them.
every one of them. I just did
Now,
not like that he was blonde. He was
I
not.
know, I know.
He was not the real James Bond. They killed James Bond, and he was replacing him, but using the code name James Bond. I did not like that. They should
Wow.
have found somebody to continue the James Bond person because Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan are all the same
Yeah, no, I feel
person.
that.
They weren't different codenamed James Bond. They were all considered all the same one,
I
including George
completely
Lazenby.
okay. I agree with some things about that, but to be fair,
No, it's they never mentioned not once that they were different people. So it's canon.
well, they say it's canon. Every one of the Craig films is supposed to be canon. It's supposed to be.
Well, I mean the Pierce, Dalton, Moore, and Connery and Lazenby are
They
all
speak
one person. It's been canon. It's canon.
sure,
They have
sure.
never said that they were different people. It's only at the movie with the first movie with Daniel Craig that says that he is a different James Bond. I didn't like that.
Wow. Yeah, and well, okay. Um, so basically, you're saying for your own personal experience that none
Yeah.
of the Craig, none of the Daniel Craig movies stood up to your standards.
They were not bad movies.
No, they
I will
weren't.
say this. I will say this. I don't like how they depicted that he's a different James Bond, period.
Sure, sure.
But all the movies that he did and every James Bond movie I've seen, none of them have been bad
Yeah,
except the last one.
the very last one. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's still a running. there is no time to die, right?
right.
there's still people to this day that said, "Oh, what the hell, man? You kill off Bond? What's up with that?" You know, and all this other stuff. I look, some guy almost got beaten to death because of you remember when Star Wars came out with its seventh one, and I told you about that guy, that 19-year-old from Bakersfield, California, who was standing in line, uh, or for the longest time, and he got in, saw the film. He comes back out. And he says, "Oh, guess what? Han Solo dies." And then all these people like manhandled him and almost
How
killed him
could
and
you
put him
do
in
that?
vertical.
Don't ever do that.
That's what I'm saying. The guy was
That's like
stupid.
telling somebody how a book ends. Oh, I want to kill you.
Yeah, and so what happened is we were in the mall, and finally, we went to see it opening day. My wife and I, and Suzanne and I, we went to see it, and we're telling people no spoilers because there were a few
It isn't
couples
that
that went in and saw
I
before us.
it's not that I don't like the sequels. There are
Uh huh.
some things that I don't like about it, but they're
Yeah.
good movies. I
Sure.
love the prequels,
Yeah.
the second three movies. I don't know
Yeah. Yeah.
why
Yeah.
people hate them. I
I don't
love
know.
Jar Jar Binks.
I
That's one of
yeah.
my
I
favorite
I
characters.
don't know. Yeah. And you know what? This is the thing that I found out, and that might be one reason that you're not as warmed up to the Craig films. And I think the reason is because of the writing. The writers were bad.
Oh,
They
the
were
films were great except the last
yeah,
one.
the
The
films were
last
fine,
one,
but the writers were completely obscured. They just didn't know what the heck they were doing. Half the time they're like trying to figure out, well, what should we do with this plot, or what we should do with him here.
it's
It
like
seemed
the
like it was
writers for Star Wars and Star Trek now. They don't know the property that they're writing.
exactly. Exactly right. So this was the whole problem. That's where a lot of people were saying Daniel Craig, you know, he's not a bad actor. He's a good actor.
No.
I've seen him in films before this and he did great.
Yes,
And I was
and he's
like,
a
that's
great actor.
fine. Yes, and that's fine. But I mean, it's the writing. It ultimately came down to the writing and the plots and everything that was put in there. But what I do admire about it is that it stayed with one long story. It was one story arc. It was Blofeld, you know, Christopher Waltz, who says to him, "I'm the author of all your pain. I caused all this. I killed your Vesper. I killed your M. I killed all these people because
Yeah.
I wanted you to feel my pain. I wanted you to hurt. That's what he was doing. So
Well, it's like with
I totally
View to a
understand.
Kill. It wasn't very well written, but it was a great
No,
movie.
but it's a good movie. And it has
Yeah.
great locations, like I said. Daniel, you're next. Go ahead. Tell me what your worst Bond film you ever saw. Go ahead.
Well, the first I would have said On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but
Uh-huh.
I recently watched that movie and I liked it
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I don't know why Sean Connery turned that one down, but if he didn't, we wouldn't have got him in Diamonds Are Forever because
That's
he
true.
was contracted for 6 movies.
That's
So
true.
It was because of money. He knew that he was getting popular with James Bond. He wanted more money. They
He
said
wanted more
no,
money,
Captain.
and
He said, well,
and it
I'm
was
not
a
doing it.
whole salary. Yeah, it was a whole salary thing, Daniel, which is why he should have done it. But Lazenby just stepped up and said, "Hey, I could pull this role off." No.
yeah, he wanted to be the new James Bond, and
You
but
did,
you know,
but it didn't work.
we were lucky that he turned that down, because if he didn't turn it down, we wouldn't have had him in Diamonds Are Forever, because
And which I thought
that's
was a
pretty good.
great, and I thought that was a great continuation. Now that you talk about Diamonds Are Forever, it's a great continuation because now you see Connery's back, and in the opening credits, right, he's hunting down for Blofeld. He's been tracking him down since the volcano explosion of his lair, basically, and then of course killing his wife. So he's hunting him down for revenge, and he finally gets to where he thinks he found him, but it's just one of these, guys trying to, through plastic surgery become him, or Charles Gray in this case. So he kills him, buries him under all that, cake and stuff, to put, on face and stuff, plastic, uh, surgery cake. And then he finds him, and supposedly, and Gray says, kill him. And then, he gets him and he says, welcome to hell, Blofeld. So then M at that point, he's talking about the Rah Rah Shah, Diamond and whatever. He says, look, he says, Blofeld is dead, finished. Now we need you to get back to some nice hard work. Until
Well,
he finds out
they
that
did
they're
a
twins.
James Bond Jr. Cartoon.
Yeah, 1992, somebody told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, plays his nephew, right? That's his nephew, James Bond Jr. Is that the impression I was under? I was going to mention it, but yeah. It only lasted for one season, but it's supposed to be canon. It's his nephew, so that took up the reins, I guess. That's what I was
thought
under.
it was his son.
Well,
Since
it could have
called,
been his son.
Wasn't it called
I don't know
James
for
Bond
sure.
Jr.?
James
Wasn't
Bond
it
Jr.
called James Bond Jr.?
It was. Yeah. Let me.
Or Young? I think it was Young Indiana Jones, and then James Bond was the James Bond Jr. I thought.
Junior.
I thought
Yeah.
it was his son.
Okay. Here's what I got from it. James Bond Jr. was an American animated television series based on the Ian Fleming's James Bond franchise. It follows the adventures of James Bond's nephew, James Bond Jr. It
Then why
aired.
is it called James Bond Jr.?
I don't know. I don't know. It says the
Stupid.
series. Yeah, it says the series debuted in September 1991. It ran for 65 episodes before ending in March 1992, and it is the only television series ever produced based on the Bond franchise. The only one.
Wow.
Yeah.
James Bond Jr. and it's hey Unc.
Yeah. Hey, Unc.
Wow.
I know, right? So Daniel, did you say what your worst movie
Yeah,
was?
I don't know. Like, that's a very difficult question. I like all the Bond movies. What I could say that I didn't like the Daniel Craig Bond movie because, as I mentioned last time, I was so upset when they rebooted everything after Die Another Day, when they could have just made Casino Royale a continuation, a sequel to Die Another Day. But no, they had to hit the reboot button.
Yeah.
And throw out the baby with the bathwater, throw out all that continuity. And, some people would argue that, well, the continuity in the James Bond movies is a joke. There wasn't very much continuity in any of those movies between each other. But no, there was. Like, in Russia with Love, they mentioned Dr. No.
Of course.
They mentioned Dr. No, and the guy who played Q was in all the movies all the
Well,
way up to
17. He wasn't in Doctor No,
no, he wasn't
and
Doctor
he
No.
actually right. And there was another guy. His name was John Cohen, who played Algernon in that non-canon movie. They said
Yeah,
Never
he
Say
was like
Never
the Q
Again.
character.
Right? Never Say Never Again. But in
I
that
like
one,
the guy who played him in
yeah,
all the
and
Roger
and
Moore movies.
right, and remember in that one in Never Say Never Again, it was the beginning of Rowan Atkinson who plays Mr. Bean, and in that movie he played Nigel Smallfawcett, and he was a funny guy in that one. So that made up for the fact that Kim Basinger couldn't act out of a toilet seat. So, and that was her first debut in Hollywood was Never Say Never Again. Most people
I don't
forget
know why
that.
they say
I
she
guess that's a
can't act.
selective
She
memory.
was good in that Alien movie with Dan Aykroyd, that comedy.
Oh
My
yeah,
stepmother is an alien. I liked
yeah,
her in
Mr.
that.
Mother and Alien. Okay. Yeah, she might have done some things, but yeah. So, what'd you say ultimately, Daniel? What'd you say was your first?
I don't know. I think I would say Quantum of Solace because I watched Casino Royale and I liked it. Oh, and by the way, Pierce Brosnan was supposed to be in Casino Royale, and I would imagine that if he had been in that movie, it wouldn't have been a reboot. It would have had
Mm,
to have been a sequel.
yes,
But
Mm.
he wanted way too much money. He wanted $50 million. He overpriced himself out of the market.
I agree. I agree. And as we were telling, as I talked to Jay about that, um, what was unique about Craig's Bond is that it followed one major story arc. He had to go through the Sheaf. He had to go through Dominic Green. He had to go through Silva to finally get to Blofeld. Then, of course, he puts him in jail because he says, I'm out of bullets. I can't kill you. So then he goes in no Time to Die, which I really was upset about. He goes in and he's got the virus that, Madeline Swan, Leah Sadu gave him. And he says, die, die, die. He's shaking him. But then he does kill him. So then the Sender Safin, played by Rami Malek, who, was his purpose was to knock off Spectre completely, succeeded
Mm.
with Bond's help. I thought, what?
Mhm.
I'm like, come on, that's nuts. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's insane. Um, oh well, that's you know what? I think we all agreed on that. Most of the Craig stuff, but I won't tell that to my wife directly for obvious reasons. But I think we all agreed on that. But no, personally, from my experience, I think I agree with Thomas Potts. His was Moonraker, and I agree with that. And that's only because it was too soon. I think it was just after Enterprise, right, had debuted as our shuttle, as our official space shuttle,
Mm.
or was it? No, yeah, it was Enterprise, and then Columbia later. But so it was introduced, and then the director said, "Now wait a second. 2 years ago, they had Star Wars. We should do something like that." So then the brainy people over in Eon said, "Okay, let's do Moonraker." In 1979. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you
It was
serious?
a good movie. It was a good movie.
But he's in outer space. Come on,
Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah,
Come
it was still
on.
good. I liked it.
I loved them. I loved them when they were underwater in Thunderball, and I thought that was better because they can handle
Yeah.
that liquid environment. But when you're out there in space, it's just way too. Oh, I don't know. Special effects, maybe, but there's just way too much out there. Um, let's see. I'll just go through this quickly. So Thomas says LDG demands refunds for movies he didn't like. Jaywalks in front of trains.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Wham.
Wow. Okay. And John DeMarco says in the original series, the barrier was at the edge of the galaxy. The barrier in Star Trek V is a different one. Okay, John. No, I appreciate you clarifying that because I'm thinking we're all in the same universe, but I'm sure, yeah, that's different. Thomas Potts did say Moonraker was the worst for him, so we agree there, Thomas. And Goldfinger is his favorite. Wow, that's actually cool. So he and I both agree on our favorite one and our worst one. That's okay. That's cool. All right, so now the next question for you, fine gentlemen, is a real simple one. Uh, since we know who played the Bonds, uh, in your honest opinion, and we'll start over here. We'll start with Daniel first. Daniel, who was your favorite Bond girl? Who was your favorite? Like, who stood out, looked gorgeous, was great, acting, everything? Who was your favorite Bond girl? Hey, Daniel, you still there? Daniel, my brother.
He
Dan?
may have to excuse himself for a minute.
Okay. Well, then we'll go to you, Jay. Who, in your honest opinion, was the
Well,
best
you
Bond
said
girl
her name. I can't remember her name. She played in License to Kill.
in License to Kill? That was Pam. The character's name was Pam Bouvier, and the lady was Carrie Lowell.
Yeah.
That was your favorite.
Hang on 1 second, Mikey. What?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Mikey, I've got to go. My monitor is coming for my aid worker, and I've got to do a monitor. And if I
Okay.
can, I'll come back in.
Absolutely. I'll still be here. Like I said,
If
I'm
not,
aiming for at least 4 hours.
I'll see you on Jetner Saturday.
Absolutely. I will be there for you, sir.
All right.
And John too. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jay.
Bye bye, brother.
Take care, brother. And Jay Aldridge, what a wonderful man. Lives in Texas. He's cool. Daniel. Hey, Daniel, still there, my brother? If you have to, go ahead and refresh. And then come right back in. I'll get you. Um, and I'll ask you the same question, Thomas, if you're still watching or anybody still watching in the chat. And don't forget, I've put up a favorite star on the StreamYard, so you can come in. If I see you, I'll invite you right in, so you can answer the questions for me for the panel. Now, as for me, as in regards to uh, best Bond girl, wow. I mean, we're talking 26 movies. Like I'm even including the non-canon and SNA. I'm including that. I'm not including the parody one in '67 or the climax one in '54. Uh, wow, 26 different movies, different Bond girls. Yeah, Thomas, that's a good point. Yeah, you don't really have a favorite Bond girl. That's weird because all those movies and and I'm trying to figure it out myself. Uh, right. So you said you don't really have a favorite Bond girl, and Gorilla says I have to watch a Bond movie first. Well, Gorillas, have you seen any of the Bond films? I'm assuming you have, unless you haven't really seen them. Don't forget, I got the StreamYard at the very top. Pop in, talk to me if you can, if you're allowed to. I don't want to get you in trouble at work. But if you knew, like, if you've seen a few Bond films, who would you think would be like the best actress? That's what I was just asking. But like I said, I was trying to figure it out for myself, and I figured, okay, 26 films. Uh, there were a lot of good girls in there, a lot of great actresses, by the way. You know my opinion on Kim Basinger. I'm not going to lump her in there. I am not. And I don't have a favorable opinion of Halle Berry really. Uh, yeah, I know she won an Oscar for Monsters Ball. Okay, bye. You have an Oscar. Yay. But as Jinx Johnson in Die Another Day, no, no, I'm not. No. Wow. Well, interesting. I'll tell you. I think it's between two women. And I think that Jay was right. uh, when he said he liked Famke Janssen, and she was a villainess in Goldeneye, and I liked her in that role. I liked that she was as you know stealthy as Bond, could kick butt like Bond could, uh, and that she was the property of 006, played by Sean Bean, Agent 006. Uh, and you know, yeah, I think that for me, yeah, I liked I liked Famke in that one. I think that the one villainess that comes closest to her is actually back in Never Say Never Again was Fatima Blush, played by Barbara Carrera. Well, Barbara Carrera is a nice, great looking lady, and she's a decent actress too. And for the short time she was in that movie, she got the best of Bond at least until you know he blew her up with a pen. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that I mean those were my basically my Bond villainesses, and then uh, I probably would say Barbara Bach. Yeah, Barbara Bach and Spy Who Loved Me that played yeah the uh, the spy, the Soviet Agent Triple X in that movie. Yeah, Barbara Bach. She was great, and and of course when they get caught in the flotation boat, uh, Bond, what are you doing? Keeping the British end up, sir. With Barbara Bach, and she's ready to shoot him, but she ends up popping the top from the champagne bottle instead, and you know,
I
he's
am
a
back.
strong. Hey, Daniel, welcome back. I was just finishing up. I was telling the chat about who I thought were my favorite Bond girl and my villainesses, and I think I came down to two. It was Famke Janssen from GoldenEye that played Xenia Onatopp, and the other one was what was the other one? Oh shoot! Oh, it was oh well, okay. I think it was Xenia. That was probably my best one. And then I said my Bond girl was basically Barbara Bach from The Spy Who Loved Me that played Agent Triple X. Yeah, she was great. I can understand why uh, Ringo Starr would date her and then marry her. Lucky bastard. Yeah. But yeah, okay. I'll ask you, Daniel, since you're back, and welcome back, by the way. Who would you think was your best Bond girl or actress that played a Bond girl?
Um, hmm. Uh,
And by the
I would
way, we
say
are talking
Michelle.
about
I would
yeah,
say Michelle Yeoh is Colonel Lynn. I
yeah,
liked
Colonel
her.
Lynn.
That was my
Yeah,
first. That was my first James Bond lady.
right. Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. You know what? That's a good choice. She was in that movie. She did recently that movie back. I think it was 2 years ago. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
It was a
and the
good
kid,
movie.
yeah, and the kid in that who eventually grew up from Short Round in Temple of Doom, Ki Wen Kwang. He won an Oscar for that movie.
Wait, Short Round was in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, he was.
Who was he?
He was an office worker that I guess he had special powers or something in that movie.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
That was him, Ki Wei Kwan. Yeah. I was like, what? Short Round? What the hell? He grew up. Yep, and he won an Oscar for that film. Best supporting actor. So I was right. I was really proud for him. And then just to remember him running around, it's like, okie dokie, hold on to your,
Hold on to your potatoes.
potatoes. Yep, in Temple of Doom.
So yeah,
Have you? Yeah. Have you seen my stream? I did a stream about Indiana Jones, the whole franchise and the
Oh, I
movies.
did not.
Check it out because it was hilarious. I mean, we had people in chat. It wasn't really like this live stream. This is my really first live stream, so I was really nervous. But yeah, in a kind of slash live stream webcam chat, we actually talked about Indiana Jones, and I was answering everybody's comments that were in the there down in the chat room itself, and we were just talking about all the movies and and the actors in it and everything. And I mentioned Kiwi Kwan, and some people were going, "Huh? What?" I'm like, "Short Round, the little kid. He's grown up. He's in his 50s, and he won an Oscar for a movie." So yeah, so it's in there. It's in that stream. It was a couple weeks ago, so about
Yeah.
3 weeks ago or so.
Wow.
Yes, check it out. It's under the Indiana Jones franchise. And then somebody gave me the idea to do the Bond franchise because, like I said, I've been to an exhibit. I was in there for 6.5 hours. I became an official member of the James Bond fan club. I got to see everything there was to know about all the movies at that point until Daniel Craig started doing his films. So I was caught up. I was all the way to Die Another Day at that point. I knew every film about up to that point. So that was pretty cool. So so you said what do you think was your best Bond girl that you thought?
It was Colonel Lin, Wei Lin.
Colonel Lynn Michelle Yeoh. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. Yeah. She does, the greatest thing about, like I said, one of my favorite scenes in that film is the fight scene she does in her own little headquarters with
Hmm.
all the, electronics and everything. And what's so cool is that she choreographed the entire fight scene, right? She went over it with Vic, the stunt man, the stunt coordinator, but all of that is her. All of it's her. And some of the guys that she fought with in the fight scene actually come from Jackie Chan's group, his Hong Kong group of guys, stuntmen that do all the fight stunts and everything. And because I recognize two of those guys that fought against Jackie Chan in a couple of his movies. So yeah, they were in this, and I was like, that's so cool. Yeah, so Michelle Yeoh, that's a great choice. Okay, well, we'll get caught up here real quick. Thomas Potts says, I don't really have a favorite Bond girl. Oh, that's understandable, Thomas. Like I said, there's 26 movies you have to choose from. There really isn't any bad girl, like I said, other than Kim Basinger and Halle Berry, but that's neither here nor there. Of course, Gorilla said I had to watch a Bond movie first. He says not one. Wow, you need to get out of that cave, my friend, my brother, and go see a Bond film. Something earlier, okay? If you're not into Daniel Craig, go see earlier stuff. Uh, Time for you to start watching them at go. Okay, and uh, and then Thomas said, at Gorilla's random thoughts. And then, hey, Mikey, hey, Trusty Ape, come on in. Trusty Ape, come on in if you can. I got the link all the way at the top there, and I linked it. So come on in and join me and Daniel. I'd love to hear your answers and stuff if you want. It's up to you, buddy, if you want to come in. Gorilla's random thoughts. Hey, Trusty said to them, and hey, Trusty. Yeah, Daniel. That's his name's also Dan. Trusty Ape. So, yeah, he's a cool guy. Uh, I've I've uh, I've been with him.
I mean,
Uh,
did I mention? Okay, like I started in Quantum of Solace. I didn't like that. That was my least favorite Bond movie. I like Casino Royale, even if it was a reboot, because it was so well written and
oh
so
yes,
well directed and
yes,
acted. But
yes.
but Quantum of Solace just fell flat for me.
Was it the uh, I'm trying to remember. Was it the name of the girl that was part of the secret police force? The one that was
I
trying to
don't.
kill the general
Yeah, I don't
Mendano?
really remember, but I just remember that movie fell flat for me.
Yeah, I can find her name for you. Hold on for just a sec. Yeah, Quantum of Solace. Okay. I love how I can absolutely pull these up real quick. Mark Forster was the guy that directed. Yeah, that was Olga Kirilenko. She's actually a Russian actress that actually comes from the Ukraine. originally. But yeah, Olga played the agent that was from what do they call it? Venezuela. Well, not Venezuelan, but the country they were in. That they were, you know, they could sell T-shirts and all that stuff. If you remember the film, I'm trying to remember it. But yeah, that was Olga. That was Olga Kurylenko that played the female agent that assisted him. Was trying to kill this guy named General Medrano, and also had a mix up with Dominic Green. And Green said, "Be careful what you wish for." And then General Medrano showed up. So yeah, and Gorillas says the he says the cave is so deep I don't know which direction to go. And my buddy Trusty says, "Is it Famke Johnson? I don't know. She counts as a Bond girl because she was a villain." That's the thing I wanted to go ahead and clarify. Um, you can, if you want to answer it either way, go with Bond girl or go with Bond villain girl, right? They're just two different, two different sides of the same coin. They're Bond women, okay? And whether or not Bond slept with them or did whatever with them, whether they were good or bad, you just have to let me know here in the panel or in the chat who was your worst, or who you thought was your best girl or who was your worst girl. I already mentioned my two worst girls, but like I said, I think my favorite was definitely the one I mentioned before. So yeah, Barbara Bach from Spire Love Me. Yeah, she was my favorite. Also, let's see. Trusty said, "I wish I could. Have to start getting ready for work." Oh well, Trusty, I'm sorry. This was kind of last minute. I know I said originally June 7th, next week, but it was due to circumstances beyond my control, and I found out that my wife would be gone for a couple hours doing some shopping for us and errands. So she said, "You know what? It's probably better to do it now." And I said, "You're right." And so I just kind of like threw it together. I think I did okay. It's my first ever, so I hope when I listen back to it that it came out okay. Um, let's see, and then we've got yeah, Xena on a top. Trusty Ape said, and also you're not wrong, Trusty, but also I believe she spelled it with an X, like X-ray, not Z like in Z. But it's either way. It's if you pronounce it that way, it would sound like it says Xenia. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong in that. So yeah, Xenia on the top. So that must have been his favorite. Famke. Famke Janssen. Okay. All right, Daniel. So now we're going to get to the fun part. I'm just going to throw this right out there. Now we know that Q, Desmond Llewellyn, did 17 films, and he had some of the coolest gadgets I'd ever seen. Just absolutely insane. And so I wanted to know if you want to tell me, please, what was your favorite gadget that Q gave to Bond for his missions? What was your favorite?
Wow, there's so many gadgets. I don't know if I
I
remember them all.
know. I know. You know what else I forgot to mention? Sorry, real quick. I forgot to mention that Q, or actually R, John Cleese, was in two Bond films too, back to back. So, after Desmond, rest in peace, died. So yeah, go ahead. Tell me
I
what
would
your
say the
favorite.
jetpack from Thunderball.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great choice. Like, where do you find those jetpacks now? Right? I mean, they got I mean, they're in air shows and things. I know, but damn, man, I would have loved to have my own jetpack.
Oh yeah, they're really good. And
Oh my god, that'd been so cool.
like that ejector seats from Goldeneye. No, Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, yeah,
That was good.
yeah.
Um,
Do you remember? I don't know. Did you see the movie with Dame Judy Dench and Daniel It was Skyfall.
No.
Okay. Well, should I go ahead and I don't want to ruin it for
Oh,
you because
sure.
there's a really cool scene. Okay. So in a scene, uh, they realize that Silva is trying to kill M from past experience. He was an agent back in the Hong Kong days when M was a bureau chief for Hong Kong, and she sold Silva to the Chinese and or the Koreans, and they, tortured him and all this other stuff in exchange for 10 other agents. So she took her best agent, traded him for 10 other agents, and of course, now he wants revenge and he wants to kill him. And so they're, Bond is saying we got to stay step ahead of him. And so what they do is they go to this garage and they open it, and right there is the DB5 from Goldfinger, the original car, the Aston Martin, the original one, with the ejector seat in place. and this is so funny. It really is. Still is one of the funniest parts of the movie. They get in, they're driving because they're headed for Scotland to his old place, which is called Skyfall. That's where he was born and raised and stuff, before his parents died. And so they're in the car, and Daniel looks over and he says, "Are you going to complain like this the whole way?" And then, Judy says, "Oh, go ahead, eject me, kick me out of this car." Yeah, he says, "Yeah, go ahead and eject me, get me out." It's because she was complaining, because she thought he came up with a bad plan of like, and then they're, Mallory and the young Q, Ben Wishaw. So they're and Tanner are laying breadcrumbs so that only Silva would know where they're headed and is going to follow them, away from from the public and general public shooting people and yeah, to go after him. So that's where we saw the car again was in that, and I was Skyfall, and I thought that was a great tribute and they still had the machine guns in it. And then what happened was is they brought the car back at the end of Spectre. Q uh, rebuilt the entire car and modified it. So then you see them drive off at the end of Spectre into the distance, him and Madeline Swan. But then when they get into Italy or Siena or that area or whatever, um, that's where Blofeld's henchmen are trying to kill him. And there's this guy who has an electronic eye or something that's trying to kill him. And next thing you know, and they're still in the original car, and all of a sudden these huge machine guns come out of the front headlights and start shooting up everybody. This is in the opening credits, the opening sequence of No Time to Die. So that was cool. They brought back the car a few times.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, like the old continuity is back because look, the DB5 Martin from Goldfinger is there." Yeah, but it's like, you know, it's confusing because one they say it's a reboot, but then they have the DB5 Martin, so it's
Yeah.
like confusing. You don't know what it is.
Right, and like I said, it wasn't just the car, right? They had a few other like Easter eggs pointing to like previous movies as a tribute, right? In fact, if you remember, there was that movie that had John Cleese as R, and he was showing the Vanish, and that the car that Bond was going to drive, uh, in the Die Another Day movie, and uh, on the ice floe and everything. It's the Jaguar, which Zhao was in. And the thing was is that inside Q's old place was all his old stuff because the actor had died just after he did, um, the movie before that, the before Die Another Day, the oh man, Oh yeah, The World Is Not Enough in 1989. That was the last one that Llewellyn did as Q before he died of natural causes at the end of the year in December of 1999. So then when you had R was in there as Cleese, he partially shown up in that movie in the World's Not Enough, and then he showed up in Die Another Day as R, and he shows the car and everything, and he says, "Here's the mountain. You should be able to shoot through that." Well, Pierce throws it up in the air, and the car automatically reacts and thinks it's some bullets or something. Shoots at it, shreds it to bits, and he says, "No, doesn't look like I need any time at all." And Eckley says to him, "I wish I could make you vanish."
Yeah.
And they show, and it's so funny because in his, I'm trying to get to it, he says, and he has this ring that has on his finger and turns it up high frequency to break in glass, and he's showing them that. But you see in there the alligator that Roger Moore used in Octopussy to kill that one guy and then go off. That was his automatic alligator thing. You see the shoe, which had the poison tip from it, uh, from the girl that tried to kill him in From Russia with Love, and then and the jetpack from Thunderball, and everything's there, and he was still going through. And then Pierce goes over to the jetpack. He touches it, and he goes, "Does this still work?" And it's moving and going shh. And of course, Cleese is pissed off, and he says, "Look, I'm trying to get to that, or trying to get to it. Show him new technology." And he says, "I think you've been down here too long." With the car. And so, yeah, that was funny. That was funny. So,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, when Q introduced the new car, and it
yeah,
says, "Oh, this is the ultimate form. This is the ultimate technology," and then like this thing rolled over, and then looked, and then Bond didn't see nothing. He's like, "You've been down here too long."
yes,
I was like, "Yeah, this stuff's so funny."
yeah. And he just says, "Oh, you must be joking." And remember that Cleese replies and says, "In my business, I never joke. Like my predecessor, I never joke." That's what he said. So I thought, yeah, it was just, I could tell that Cleese wasn't quite getting into the role as Q. So I guess if you could say there was a bad Q, I'd say it was him. Even though he's a great comedian, Monty Python's Flying Circus, nothing more else. Fish Called Wanda, he did.
He was in Harry Potter too.
Yes, he was. He was the Headless Nick in the Harry Potter series. Yeah, good call. Yeah, he was Headless Nick. He was that. So yeah, he did that too. So like he's not only and Time Bandits, and he did all these things. And then for him to play R, instead of a Q, I was a little disappointed.
But did
A little
they
bit.
call him R, or was he just Q? I don't know, because he did call him
Well,
Q.
okay. Well, like I said, when the original Q actor died at the end of 1989 in December, the rumor was, or no, the swirling news around it was that after Q died, well, Q had called, Q didn't officially give him a name yet, and of course Bond said, "So does that make him R, like in the alphabet?" So technically Bond named him and said he was R, but then in Die Another Day, he assumes Q, so then he becomes Q. So yeah, he's Q for that movie at
Yeah,
least.
but he's also credited as R in the credits, and I'm like, oh, okay. So what is he, Q or R? They can't make up their mind.
I don't know, my friend. I don't know. You know what? I'm just used to calling him. Okay, I'm used to calling him R in the one before, in World Is Not Enough, and then I'm used to calling him Q, even though it says he's R in the last one that Pierce did. So Die Another Day. So no, I mean, I just that's what I think of him as. Just kind of comparison, notes. And of course, he says, he's making love to to Dr. Christmas Jones, towards the end of that Die Another Day.
Yeah,
Or no, I'm sorry, not Die Another Day. World is Not Enough.
yeah.
And Cleese says, must be the Y2K bug when they get into the position. And of course, Dame with her expression is priceless. She goes, 007.
Yeah, it was
It's
nice. It was
classic.
funny.
It is. It's just classic. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, LDG. He says, great show so far, Mikey. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, my friend. Gorilla says, my favorite would be whose ever titties I can see. Oh my gosh, Gorillas. I can't believe you said that. But that's okay. Um, well,
Oh, Christmas Jones. That's my
yes,
second favorite Bond girl.
yes.
That would be my second favorite Bond girl. Yeah.
And she stands out, right? She stands out. So I'll tell Gorillas, go watch that movie, okay, where M gets kidnapped, all right? And watch Christmas Jones, the actress that plays her. Okay? I'll save you that much. If you watch that movie for me, you'll get your wish. Okay? Yeah, she has a few see-through things in there. That's the scary part. um, and then LDG says baseball. Oh no, come on, LDG, don't hurt him. He's just being honest. Come on. And he laughs out loud. Okay, we're caught up on the chat there, Daniel. Um, I really love this. This is cool. All right, now I'm going to ask you a cool question. This is the next one. I got this all planned in my head, so bear with me. My head's not all together today, doing this last minute. So thank you so much for understanding. Um, okay, so my next best thing I want to ask about Bond is location, location, location. With all those movies, and the different places, at least most of them that you saw where he traveled to, um, and I don't, and to be honest, I don't even think there was a bad place anywhere.
Yeah, they were all good.
To say they were all great, yeah. So I guess I'm just asking you, to you personally, what do you think was the best location that he went to? The
Oh, man,
best place he
that's
did a
a
mission.
kind of a hard question. I love. Okay, like see, my favorite. Okay, my favorite Bond movies
Yeah,
are like Doctor No and Diamonds Are Forever.
yeah,
That was like the best locations in my opinion. Okay, like yeah, Doctor No, Diamonds Are Forever. Uh, For Your Eyes Only. I love that. No, no, not For Your Eyes. Sorry, the one where he goes to Japan. You Only
yeah.
Live
That's
Twice.
you only live twice. Yeah,
And also I like Live and Let Die when he goes to Louisiana and he fights Mr.
yeah,
Big and what's his
yes.
name? Baron
Hilda.
Samedi.
Yes,
They still haven't explained. They never explained what happened to Baron Samedi. I was kind of hoping that he would make a
I
recurring.
know, dude. Jeffrey Holder. Well, now he's passed away, so rest in peace, Jeffrey. I know he passed away some years ago, not too long ago. But the guy that played Baron Samedi, Jeffrey Holder. Yeah, he's on the end of the train. You're hearing Paul McCartney and Wings theme song going on, and he's going, ah, whatever. What happened to him?
Yeah, like
Never.
it's just
They never explained it. I was like, well, I thought he died in a bunch of snakes, right? Oh,
yeah.
supposedly he did. They were poison snakes, and he gets hit by Bond, and Bond goes in, and you hear this, just you don't hear him anymore. Yeah.
That was creepy. That guy was creepy. Like near the, like near, I remember when yeah in the Louisiana, like when he went to that place where they were doing that ritual or something,
Yes.
and there was a church in the background. I think it was like a cemetery too, and there was
Yeah.
all these people like tying the girl up, and
Well,
Baron
now,
Samedi appeared. It was like
yeah,
freaky.
no, I just wanted to correct you real quick. Um, there was three places originally, and when they started, there was New Orleans, there was Washington D.C., or I'm sorry, not Washington D.C., New York City with the United Nations, and then Louisiana with the Filet of Soul place that was there, and the guy got killed, and who's the funeral for? You, kills him, and then the other place was on that island of San Monique. That's where the island was, where you had the church and the bus and everything. That was on San Monique. Now, what they did with the boats, that chase and the stuff all through the Louisiana Bayou with J.W. Pepper, that was the Louisiana area. That was their bayous and everything. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
also Octopussy. Remember when he went to India? That
yeah.
was really, I liked that location. It was so nice,
And it was so beautiful because I have a friend of mine that's been to the Taj Mahal. His name Karan Malik. He's a really cool friend of mine. I met him on a tour that my parents and I did of the Hawaiian Islands one year, and I ran into him, and he was a wonderful man. I think he's married now. He just got married, and he was working. He's an IT guy. He works with other people over in Pakistan, and you know how India and Pakistan have been at war for a long time. They're rivals and whatever.
Oh, they
And they
have?
both, yeah, they both just recently got nuclear weapons. So both India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons at their disposal. It's kind of
Oh,
scary.
who gave it to them? Did somebody sell it?
It was, we're assuming it was Russia that gave Pakistan their necessary uranium and stuff to do to make their weapon, and we believe it was American CIA or whatever that helped India to put their weapons together. Like I said, my friend is an IT guy. He talks with other IT people over there in Pakistan, in Kashmir and stuff. So yeah, it's a scary time. But yeah, but India, he's been to the Taj Mahal. He's been to Mount Kilimanjaro. I mean, this guy he's so lucky. He's been to so many great places. And like I said, he was with us in Hawaii. So yeah, very cool on Oahu. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. India is wonderful. Um, Now as for me, uh, what I like most about, like I said, what I like most about uh, A View to a Kill is the fact that it was an actual house, an established house that was. I'm not sure who owned it, but it was outside of Paris. That's where they shot most of that scenes was that house, exteriors and stuff. And then the other place. Hello, Miss Yvette. I have a link to the chat. It's up there at the very top if you want to come in and say hello. You too, Thomas Potts. You can come, and Gorillas. I don't want you to get in trouble. And you too, LDG, if you want to come in. So anyway, what I was saying was that France, seen Paris, seen the Eiffel Tower, all that stuff. It's beautiful, always beautiful when you see it. Uh, and of course, to see that scene where Mayday jumps off the top of the Eiffel Tower, or one part of the Eiffel Tower, and is with her big parachute, whatever, floating, and then just conveniently lands on that party boat, but then Roger Moore crashes on it. So and then she gets away with Christopher Walken, that played Zoran. So I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's
Christopher
just
Walken
amazing.
as Zoran is so cool, and
Yeah, and
you remember when they were sparring, Mayday and Zoran were sparring? There was a scene where they were like and they were like, "Huh, yeah, yeah," and I'm just like, Max Zoran never did that ever again in the entire movie. He could have fought Bond. Did he fight Bond? I don't know, but he never
he
used
did.
those
He
moves.
fought. Yeah, he fought Bond. Remember, he came at him with the axe from the
Yeah, but
blimp.
with an axe, he didn't use
Right, he didn't
his
use
like.
his fist or anything. No, yeah, that's what I was wondering. I said, why? Well, okay,
And then there
that's
was this really
unfair.
funny line. Where
Yeah.
But hold on a second. There was this really funny line there
No,
was a
go ahead.
game called Everything or Nothing with
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan,
Yeah.
and they were talking about Max Zorin because in the game Everything or Nothing, um, there was like a protege of Max Zorin. I think it was the guy who played Green Goblin in Spider-Man. I forgot his name. Oh man, I like
was
that actor.
Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah, William Defoe. William Defoe.
Willem Dafoe.
So
Hi,
William
Jay.
Defoe.
Welcome back,
Jay.
Jay, to the panel.
Hey,
So William Defoe was Max Zorin's protege or something, and M and Pierce Brosnan's Bond were talking, and they were talking about Max Zorin, and he goes, "You remember Max Zorin, 007?" And he said, "Yes, we played bridge together.
Yeah.
He lost. Get it? Bridge.
Bridge. Oh, Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah, I get it.
We played bridge."
And this is the funny thing too. Well, maybe funny and a little tragic, but you knew that Christopher Walken was, friends with Natalie Wood when they did Brainstorm. But then Robert Wagner got pissed off, and to this day they think that Wagner, along with Walken, planned the death of Natalie Wood and had her drown. Threw her off the boat or whatever.
he was on the boat with him.
Yeah. So, I'm glad you're back, Jay. Yeah, we were just talking about locations. We're getting some people. Yvette just walked in. So we laughed out loud with LDG. Gorilla said, "What? Just being honest." And then I told him, "I love you, man, Gorilla." And then Tom Spot said, "Karoga gave both of them nukes." Yeah, good point. Then you have good evening, Mikey and Daniel and everyone. Oh, thank you so much, Yvette, for coming to our stream.
Yvette.
Love Yvette. She's wonderful. And a professor to boot. And Jay, she's as smart as we are. Probably even smarter. Probably even smarter. Well, I think she is.
Oh, I thought you said me. I was going to say, no way.
No. I was talking about quantum physics. She's smarter than me. I can't even start to begin with physics of any kind. Trust me. Yvette says, or Thomas says to Yvette, hello. Yvette says, hey, Thomas. Yes. And Gorilla says, hey, Yvette. And then Yvette says, I have actually been in the James Bond hangar at Pinewood Studios. However, they were using it to film the original Superman Fortress of Solitude. Well, that's pretty cool. I would have loved to see that. Pinewood. So Christopher is walking, not running. That's true. Thanks for the invite, but I have only just gotten home. No problem, Yvette. We're going to be here for at least another 2 hours at least. So, rest up a little bit. If you want to jump in, jump on in. We'd be love to have you. Yvette says, hey, gorillas with 3 X's. Okay, so we're caught up, gentlemen. So as I was, Jay, when you got here, I was just asking Daniel about location. And I wanted to know personally what you thought is your favorite location that James Bond got to do a mission in from all the films. Your best locations.
I don't know where they filmed, but like I said, License to Kill, where they were down where I guess Mexico or something. Where
Isthmus. Okay, now this is my understanding in License to Kill. Isthmus City is supposed to be, technically, it's supposed to be Panama, where the canal is. Because at one time, the Isthmus of Panama is where they built the canal, and the Isthmus is like that body of water. So
I love that religious site where Wayne Newton's religious retreat is. I like that.
And that's it. Yes, and remember that's supposed to be an actual native. Somebody said it was the Quetzalcoatl or Quetzal tribe or something. It was supposed to be one of their like relics or something. They were out there, and then they just expanded on it with Wayne Newton's, cult that he was doing out there. So, yeah, that's a great set. I would have loved to see that.
Of course, who wouldn't love that ice city in Die Another Day?
Yes. And you know what bothers me? And I don't know if maybe you can explain this or Daniel can. How was it that and I told you I've seen both cars, okay? I'd seen the Vanish and I'd seen that played the vanished car, and then I seen the Jaguar, the green one that Zhao
Yeah.
was driving in. And I was trying to figure that out. How were they able to stay on the ice? Like
I
in
don't know.
like perfect. Yeah, that's one of the things that to this day bothers me because it's they seem like when they were chasing each other, it was like they were on a rolling. It must have been on a rolling thing underneath the ice, but you really can't tell because
Uh,
I'm feeling that's the only way they were
oh
able
no,
to
no.
like chase each other.
Hang on 1 second. I gotta go on mute.
Okay, so what do you think of that ice house, Daniel? What do you think of that ice house in
The
Diamond
Ice
Bay?
Hotel.
The ice
It's
hotel, yeah.
pretty. It's pretty interesting. But how do people sleep in there if it's so cold?
Yeah. Can't have
uh,
heaters.
yeah, but not electric heaters. They would melt
Yeah,
the
they have
heat.
electric heaters, but
Uh,
doesn't that melt the ice? Wouldn't that melt the ice?
yeah.
It sure
Yeah.
would. Yeah,
Because they turned on that sunbeam and it started melting everything.
yeah.
I'm thinking that is possibly in studio or some kind of set because I don't see how. But I have seen commercials where cars have been on the Arctic, but I don't know if that's CGI or what. I just don't know if it was a real set or if
Right.
it was on in the Arctic or something. I don't know.
Well, somebody okay. Um, somebody said that I think I read this correctly. Somebody said that in outside of Reykjavik, Iceland, some of the scenes that were on the actual ice and things that they did was supposed to be there outside of Reykjavik. So, uh, the ice palace
Hmm.
or the ice place that he did the experiment and everything from. Uh, yeah, I just think that that must have been built on the ice itself, or maybe because I know some of the interiors were done at Pinewood, but some of the exteriors were
Yeah.
done out, yeah, in Iceland, so outside there. So, oh, Gorilla says to me, you said 2 hours, 5 hours ago. Gorillas, I said I would try to go at least three, maybe three and a half, but I wouldn't go any more than four. So I
I
didn't
think
say
my
that
favorite
5 hours.
location is that movie that Daniel had said that was depicted in the Bayou, the
Yes,
uh, the Voodoo movie. They
yeah,
were
live
in.
and let die. Live and
I
let
don't know
die.
if they actually filmed in Louisiana or not, but if they did, it was a great location.
Yeah, well, they did. You know what? Yeah, they said that they filmed on a few uh, in a few parishes of Louisiana. So yes, they were actually in a couple of parishes in the state, and then they were in New Orleans for some of
Well,
those
that's
scenes
awesome
that they did in the city. So yeah, that's a
because I
great
live in
location.
Louisiana.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe in your parish they would have done a
No,
scene from
I
that.
know they didn't film in Morehouse Parish.
Okay. but
It had
that
to
would have
be
been
way
cool.
down south.
Yeah, but that would have been cool. Um,
Now, we recently had a movie made partially in Monroe, Louisiana, near me,
hi, baby.
but I didn't go to see them film. I don't know what movie it was.
Okay. Um, well, I had a similar experience when I first moved to uh, Phoenix, Arizona, and they the area hardly had anything around us. And down the street, my dad was telling me that he saw a company. Thank you. He saw a company from uh, Malpazzo, which is Clint
Uh,
Eastwood's company. They were starting to put up stuff, and they were shooting scenes from The Gauntlet with Sandra Locke in that film,
yeah.
and that was just like less than a mile from where we lived in a cul-de-sac, and that was when that movie came out. So we were actually there
Hmm.
and close to that, and that was fun. That was fun to watch.
Has any
just to see what
movies
like
been shot where Daniel lives?
Daniel, have you had a movie shot where you live?
I don't think any Bond movie was shot in Canada or Vancouver or anywhere. Maybe it was, but I don't know if it was.
Well, I know you've had a number of other movies that have been in Vancouver, so in the
Yeah,
area.
like Smallville was filmed here, and
Smallville,
the
yeah.
Flash is filmed here, or it was filmed here. I remember seeing I remember like way back when, like 10 years ago in 2013, we were seeing the first episode of the Flash was filming, and they were releasing set photos, and me, my friend Matrix Lord 212, and another friend, the old Doc, were looking at the at the pictures, and I was like, wow, that is so cool, and now it's 2023. It's like 10 years later. Wow.
Yeah,
And the
and
Flash
I
is
just
over, and Smallville has been over since 2011,
that's cool.
and yeah, here
Did
we
you
are.
ever get to go see any of the filming on Smallville?
No, it's too far away. The
Oh,
Vancouver is like what, 3 hours away from me.
oh,
Yeah,
2 hours away from me.
and ever since I moved here, it'll be 6 years soon. Here with Suzanne here in the Toronto area, GTA. They have filmed other movies. In fact, they were using the same place down the road from us. What used to be a car dealership, and they actually used it for several different like scenes in different movies here in the Toronto area. So, but you know, we have yet to try to get on a movie set, but they do have some that are around here. Just wanted to quickly catch up here. Yvette says in space, Moonraker. Okay, that had to be your worst one, I'm assuming. Yvette said the Ice City is in Cornwall. It's the Eden Project. It's been there a few times. Okay, that might explain a lot of the interiors and maybe some exterior shots. But I do know that they filmed some ice scenes in Iceland area or somewhere that had ice, real ice that was out there.
no,
Gorilla says,
Iceland. Not a lot
yeah,
of Iceland is ice.
that's true.
It's real greenery.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I heard some scenes were in Iceland where the ice is, like but
And
the event
Greenland
says
has a lot of ice too.
yes,
So
that's true.
they need to switch names.
That's true. Gorilla says, Daniel, you're obviously not from up north. That's a heat wave here.
Oh, there
Yvette
is.
says,
Oh,
yeah, like I said, Supernatural was filmed in
What
yeah,
did
Vancouver.
he
that
say?
too.
What did he say about the temperature up there?
Oh, he said to Daniel, you're obviously not from up north. That's a heat wave here. Where
No,
Gorilla
man.
says,
What did Daniel say the temperature was?
what's the temperature for you right now, Daniel, in Vancouver?
It's 30 Celsius.
I'm not
What's
good with
that in
Celsius.
Fahrenheit?
I'm not sure.
I have 81 degrees Fahrenheit here in Scarborough in
Oh,
Toronto.
then you're just about the same temperature as Louisiana right now.
Yeah,
We have we have a lot of heat here.
don't you have a lot more humidity though, my friend?
Well, same difference to me. Humidity, heat. If you lived here, you would say the same thing.
I
Heat is
would.
heat. I don't care if it's humidity or what. Heat is heat
Yes, and humidity is humidity. That's true.
because the heat index can go up to 110.
Wow, that's so cool. Gap After Dark. Glad you're still here, my friend. He says Free the Net was filmed in Florida. Yvette says, "Hey, Gap," and Gap says, "Hey, Yvette," and then Gorilla says he was talking about how cold to sleep in an igloo.
Oh yeah.
I've never
It's
slept in one.
very
You
rare that
can't.
we get winter here.
Yeah. That now there is an ice hotel. This is really ironic. There is one in Upper. I believe it's in. Am I right or wrong? Is it Switzerland or Sweden? Yeah, I know there's one, but it's an ice hotel. It's like an actual hotel that exists. I've seen it on
Now,
YouTube.
in 1999, we had 14 days of an ice storm.
Wow.
We thought hell had froze over.
my wife. This is funny. My wife had a friend who was living in Las Vegas at the time, and he said, "Oh, we never get snow here. It's too hot. All this stuff." Next thing you know, Suzanne says, "Oh, I bet you get an ice storm." And what do you know? There's ice and there's snow falling on the Las Vegas Strip for an entire week.
We were out of
I couldn't believe
electricity
it.
for 14 days. We nearly froze to death.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. My wife's gone through that.
Southerners
Unfortunately.
can't take the ice.
Yeah. Well, when they have an ice storm here, it definitely knocks power out. And she was without power. What was it? 10 days, my love? Yeah, 10 whole days. No power.
Gee.
Nothing. Yeah. So I was surprised she got through that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Gorilla says would take 120 dry heat over 85 with 100% humidity. Yeah, unless you lived in that, Gorillas. Go try to live in Arizona for a year. Let me know what you think after the summer
Oh,
there.
shoot, no. God, no.
Yeah,
I
go
got a
give that a
friend that
try.
used to manage our apartment here that I live in, and she was from Arizona and went back to Arizona. She said, "I can't wait to get back to the heat." I said, "Stay a while. You'll get the heat." She said, "Oh no, Arizona's got y'all beat."
She'll get used to it. It's different for everybody. It. I mean, Suzanne was only with
She
me for
was
about a year and
cold
a half
down here.
there.
She
Well,
was cold here in Louisiana than when she was in Arizona. She says, "I need that heat." I
I
said,
need
"Dear Lord." Now, with the weather here in Louisiana,
yeah,
if it says 5% chance of rain,
sure.
son, you're gonna get a monsoon. You
Yeah,
where it says like it'll say 75% chance of rain, we hardly get it.
yeah.
But 5%, holy moly, it's coming down like cats and dogs.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's
Yep.
crazy. I am happy to say, or maybe not so happy to say, but Suzanne got to experience our hottest day we ever had, 122 degrees.
Oh my
Yeah,
Lord.
122 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep,
Praying for
our
y'all.
hottest ever. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I told you she's a native Canadian. She comes from Newfoundland.
I
St. John's,
can't
Newfoundland.
believe that way up north you get that much heat.
Well, no, no,
Huh.
no, no. I said she's originally from there, but when she came to visit my folks and I down in Arizona, she went to our hottest.
Oh.
She went to our hottest
Oh,
day ever,
okay. Okay.
122
Gotcha.
degrees.
Gotcha.
Hi, baby. She's right behind me there. Yeah, 122 degrees, and I was like, oh my god, that was just
That's the
insane.
reason why Nat wanted to go back to Arizona. 120-degree heat. Dear God. No
Exactly.
wonder she was cold down here
Right.
with just 80 degrees.
And Gorilla says only
Oh.
14 days. That's a Tuesday morning here. Uh,
God
14
bless
days.
you.
Yeah. Well, he's in Minnesota. What? Come on. He lives around 1,000 lakes. He could jump into any one of them and not have to worry about his heat or his humidity. Yes.
You don't jump in a lake around here with the alligators and stuff.
That's what I mean. You got bayous, brother. You don't do that. Not unless you want to go
Either
down to
the
Gulf of
alligator,
Mexico.
snakes, or the mosquitoes will get you.
There you go. I didn't even live near water. I mean, the closest place to me was Lake Mead. Okay, it was Lake Mead, and it was losing water when I was living there.
I've heard
So,
of Lake Mead.
and we had
I
Roosevelt
was
Lake.
I was
That was
up close to y'all back in 2014. I went up to Indiana for 2 months witnessing for the Lord, and that place, it looks like Louisiana, but the place that I stayed in, I'm not kidding with you. It was like Mayberry.
Mayberry. Wow.
The place that I lived in was called Tipton, Indiana, and they had the smallest jail cells. Their recreation area outside for the prisoners is small. I mean, small. If you could see my room, it would fit my room, my living room, and only one basketball goal. And
Wow. Wow.
it was the county seat for that county. And I mean, the most friendliest people. This woman dropped her grocery bags next to her car at her house. And
Wow.
this dude runs across the street. I thought he was going to attack her.
Oh no.
He picks up her groceries and helps her in her house and comes back and runs back to his friends. I said, wouldn't happen in Louisiana.
Nope. Nope. Not to say that you're Cajun people and stuff down in Louisiana are bad people. They're not. I'm just saying that,
No,
but the
we got a
situation,
lot of crime, but that place hardly had any crime. Every morning I looked at their morning newspaper, no one got arrested, no one got a ticket.
oh yeah. Yeah, Suzanne said that my wife was blessed to actually go and experience Mardi Gras down there in Louisiana in the French
I've
Quarter.
never been down there.
Oh, she's been there, and she said she loved it, and she loved Louisiana. Said it was wonderful for her. Yeah, so she's been there, and I haven't. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'd love to go visit Louisiana. I'd love to go see the French Quarter and
Oh,
stuff.
we're getting a lot of gunshots now in Bastrop, Louisiana, where I live.
Bastrop, yeah.
It was never like this. Now it's like a war zone.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Bastrop. I know. Yeah, I know where that
And
is. Yeah.
and
Wow.
our sheriff's department has to do their job and the city police job because they don't have enough city police.
Wow. Do you go through anything like that yourself, Daniel, over in Vancouver? You ever had any problems like that? I mean, we get the occasional shooting around here, but
Well, we do
nothing so
hear. I
dramatic.
do. Yeah, I go on the new. I go on the internet and I hear news of like this kind of stuff happening in Vancouver and Toronto, but I've never seen it personally.
We probably don't want to. Since we're fellow Canadians, we just do not want to see a situation where someone's gonna hold you up with a gun or or some kind of weapon.
This dude
That would be
ran
cool.
right into our apartment building lobby and went right out the back. And here comes this, I guess, this drug dog. I don't know. He's a canine dog, and he's running through the lobby trying to chase him.
Wow,
Lord.
Lord Almighty, that's crazy.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
yeah. Well, let's see. We got a quick catch up here. Okay, so Yvette says, "I love summer rain. Like to run around in it. Who doesn't? I love it."
Not
Uh,
here. It's like boiling hot water.
wow, that's crazy. Gorillas, I'm thinking he's saying, "Bring them on. I'll crocodile Dundee their ass." I love your attempt at spelling crocodile, gorillas, but I'll forgive you because otherwise I'll go all spell checker on you. And I don't mean to do that. Yvette, you can
Crocodiles are only good in gumbo.
right. Yvette, you can have the downpour Sheldon had yesterday. It was raining 31.3 inches per hour, and the only thing that spared the area was it was a fast moving storm. Okay.
Jeez.
And Yvette goes, wow. And then, of course, Gorilla says, one murder every 10 years here. People are hesitant to pull a gun here because chances are the person will shoot back. That
I
makes
hear
sense.
gunshots right outside my window every single day.
Yeah. But that makes sense with him being in a wooded like areas like that.
I mean,
People would protect themselves.
did you hear what happened in Texas like a month ago or something? Like there was this family that
Yeah.
he was they okay, like the neighbor was shooting an AR-33 or something, gun or
Right.
something, and the father came out and told the neighbor to stop because he was making noise. And then the neighbor got nuts, went into their house and killed the whole family, just murdered the whole family. You know,
That's insane.
the mom, the dad, the kids, and then ran off.
That's crazy.
And like people actually
Yeah.
do this. Like, this happens all the
Yeah.
time in Texas,
Oh
apparently.
man.
And I'm like,
Well, we shouldn't be explicit. YouTube may yank this video off.
oh, sorry.
You
Well,
know,
you know,
you
it's,
know how they are. Oh no,
oh,
no, no,
so
no, no! It's not you. It's not you, Daniel. It's YouTube. I'm just saying.
It's the YouTube algorithm, and they have some restrictions on what certain
Yeah.
people are actually able to relate. So, like we said, it's not your fault at all. But I just wouldn't
No,
want them to
no, not
throw
your
me into
fault.
YouTube jail. I don't want
Yeah,
that. Please don't do that.
because
And I'm
you
telling
can't
you,
talk about politics, religion. Hell, you
uh,
can barely talk about sex.
stop, stop, Jay. Come on, come on. No, I'm kidding. Okay, Gorilla says I'm in farmland. Okay, well you're in farmland. Okay.
Oh, I love
Uh,
farmland.
he's in a farmland area. And Thomas Potts, hello Thomas, you're back. He says my aunt hears explosions every day. She lives next to a proving ground. Well, yeah, of course, because they're testing explosives and wanting to know the reach of how far an explosion will go. So I'm not
Shoot.
surprised that you're near a proving ground. That doesn't
Every
surprise me at all.
Saturday when I was growing up, I had to go to my uncle's. It's not really a farm. He had some cows, chickens, and stuff. I had to learn how to milk a cow. Still couldn't do it, but I went out to the hen house and got eggs. Man, they will peck at you. And I asked my father. I said, "Daddy, why am I having to do this? We live in the city." And he said, "Because I had to do it, and you got to do it." Kind of like getting punishment for what he had to do with.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
God.
We got a couple more questions, and then I think we will stop like about
All right.
3:30 ish. Yeah. So another 40 minutes or so. Um, so we'll finish up here pretty quick. So the next question I was going to have for both you gentlemen is in regards. Well, let's see. We covered the gadgets, we covered the locations, covered the women, covered the bonds. Uh, all
Well,
right.
one of
Let's
his
get.
gadgets I love. I didn't get to answer this question.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
gadget. I
Yeah.
love the ejector seat. Kind of reminds me of Kit.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. We Daniel and I actually talked about that, and then if you remember the scene in Skyfall where Bond
Uh,
and they revealed the DB5, the original car,
uh-huh.
and Bond says to M, he says, "Are you going to complain about this the whole way?" And she says, "Oh, go ahead then. Hit the ejector seat, knock me out, throw me out of the car." It still makes me laugh. It's a great
I like
interplay.
that. I like that gun in License to Kill, where it
Yeah,
had an X-ray. No, it was
yeah,
the camera. The camera
okay,
had an X-ray, but
yeah,
also a laser.
yeah. And Hugh says, "Don't press the flash." That was weird.
And that toothpaste was plastic.
Plastic,
I
because I could do with some
love
plastic.
that.
Yeah, that was a great line. He
So,
says, "I
what's
could do."
your next question?
Okay, my next question is actually it's very important question. Okay,
All right.
so let's quickly recap. We've gone through 25 movies, 26 if you're technically including NSNA, where we know we had a parody movie in 1967 where there must have been at
Oh, it
least
feels
five
like
to
a
ten
hundred
people that
movies.
played Bond. Yeah, and we had the climax TV episode in 1954. So we've pretty
Uh,
much covered just about everything we can think of. But the most important question now is, since uh, Daniel stepped away last year, which did become the 60th anniversary of of Doctor No. My question to both of you gentlemen and to Yvette and everybody in the chat is, in your honest opinion, and you've seen the list of candidates for the next James Bond, in your honest opinion, who do you think should be the next Bond? Who is ready to step up and say, "I'm Bond, James Bond"? Who is that? So we're going to start with you, Jay, and
mm.
then we'll go to you, Daniel. We'll go.
Go with Daniel because I'm thinking.
Okay, go ahead,
who
Daniel.
were the candidates? And I never saw the candidates.
Okay, well,
No,
right,
your candidate. Your candidate
your
of
candidate,
any British actor.
any British actor, anything.
It just kind of be hard.
Well, I can.
You know,
Yeah,
Tom
go ahead.
Hanks was in the running one time way back when as James Bond, but
Long
I don't think that would have
time
made a
ago.
bad Bond. I don't think
Yeah.
no.
No, you would have been bad for that. No.
They want Idris Elba now to do it as one of the names running around.
Of course.
You know what? Okay, back in GoldenEye, let me say, you know the guy Sean Bean. He was supposed to be James Bond, but then they got Pierce Brosnan. But apparently, Sean Bean was really good in the test footage of James Bond. So they made him
I
Alex Trevelyan.
remember that. Yes, I remember that in the what do they call it? The movie test. In those tests that they were running, they thought that Sean could play him, but then they said, "Well,
Mm,
wait. Now, if we got Pierce, maybe Sean could play the better Bond or the better MI6 agent 006. You know, he could have played, and he did. He played him really well. I thought. I thought Sean Bean did a great job with that. So yeah. So your pick would be what? Idris Elba.
Well, I don't know. I think Idris Elba would play an interesting Bond, but I don't know. Let's see. Uh, what would do you think Daniel Radcliffe would do it? I don't know. I think
Daniel
he would be
Radcliffe.
interesting too.
Well, now remember Daniel Radcliffe. After the Harry Potter thing, he did a movie called Now You Can See Me or Now You Can See Me 2. It was a sequel to Now You Can See Me, which had Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman in it and everything. And he plays this villain in that, and that also had Woody Harrelson played a dual role, like he was his brother and the guy who was supposedly one of the better magicians or con artist or whatever. And so in that, I saw that Radcliffe, even if he could play a villain, I don't think he could play Bond. It's just my opinion, but I didn't see it.
no,
I didn't see it. But now Idris Elba, I'm definitely not a racist man, so I'm going to tell you, I see it as a change and maybe going with a black Bond. And Elba certainly could do it. I mean,
I'd
he's
rather
got
stay with the
acting
white
cred.
Bond because we're
I
used to it.
and that's what I was going to say, Jay. I agree with you that it really should stay with the home character. And that being said, I hope to God they make him a Scotsman again, and this time, no blonde hair.
Oh, Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill.
Cavill. Yeah, there we go. I was just telling my wife that the other day.
Well,
We
he'd
said
have
we had our
to.
top three.
Is
Yeah,
he actually a British guy or not?
I believe he is. Henry
Oh,
Cavill. Yvette
I've
could
never
know for
heard him
sure,
with a
but yeah, I
British
think he
accent.
is. Yeah, I think he is.
Well,
We were.
my pick would
Go ahead.
be either Henry Cavill,
Yeah.
but I would like now that this actor he could dye his hair black, brown, whatever of
Good.
James Bond's color, but
Yes.
I like him. I liked him in Star Trek Picard. He played Jack Crusher. I would like to
Good.
see him play James Bond because he's not too young.
Sure.
He's experienced actor. He's British. He's got an
Yes.
accent,
Yes.
and he did a lot of action scenes in Picard. So I think he would be a good Bond.
I I uh, I I concur with a lot what you just said. That's a very good point. And now as for me, it really is down to three actors I'm looking at right now.
All
Cavill is
right.
one of them. Cavill is one of them. The other one I'm looking at is kind of is a throw out there. I was thinking Tom Hardy could pull him off.
Yes.
Oh,
I would
James
say
Yes.
Bond
Tom
Agreement?
Hardy for
Yeah.
sure. Yes, because
Yes.
he is that type. He's that type of action guy that wouldn't even hesitate to do his own stunts. And if they asked him of it, he
I
would
liked him
do
in
it.
Nemesis. Yes.
And I loved him in Mad Max Fury Road. He was great. He was great in that. I loved him. So yeah,
What's the
and he
third
did
one?
Venom. And he did Venom. I mean, come on, he did two Venom movies. So yeah,
What's
I
the
think
absolutely
they're
third
going
Tom
to
one?
Hardy
film the
there.
third Venom
My
movie
third
this month.
choice, yeah, My third choice. Well, I actually have. I'll tell you guys my third choice, and then a dark horse choice. My third choice. Yeah, we got Venom. Yay! Tom Hardy. Thank you, baby.
Yeah, sometime this month, Venom 3 is gonna start filming.
Yeah,
So
Tom
excited.
Hardy for sure, and then right, and then my third choice would have been Tom Hiddleston, who played Loki. He could do it.
Oh
He's
yeah, he's good
absolutely
too.
British. He's absolutely British,
Never
and
seen
he can
that.
pull it off, no problem. I mean, he is Loki, so I mean, he could play Bond for sure. My dark horse choice, though, would be Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh
He did a
yeah,
great
definitely.
because he did a great Sherlock. He does an
Yes,
awesome
he'd
Doctor
be a
Strange.
great Bond,
He
Oh,
is
and he's
great.
Bond.
just
He
old
could
enough.
do it.
He's
Absolutely.
just old
And you
enough.
don't, yes, and you don't have to force him to do a lot of this stuff. You can have
Yeah.
some people do it. Yeah. So Benedict Cumberbatch for me, dark horse choice, but for sure, any of those four gentlemen could absolutely pull it off.
I think it should be a Cumberbatch. Yeah.
Cumberbatch.
Absolutely.
Well, let's see what these guys said in the chat here, real quick. Then, we're looking at Yvette, who said, "I hear a cannon every morning. I live 10 minutes from an airport." I guess that makes sense. I don't
Yeah.
know how you would be able to close your ears to that. Yvette would make a great Bond. Thomas Bond said, "Oh, female bondage
Bond.
here. Okay,
James Bond.
Jane Bond." Gorilla says, "Chuck Norris. Oh, come on, he's too old.
Oh
He's got
yeah,
enough.
he just needs
He's
an
got too
accent.
much
He's the
karate."
greatest action star ever.
Gorilla said, "Chuck
Yeah,
Norris
Henry
would be
is
a
British.
Bond."
He is British. I heard his British accent in a like interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. Yvette says Henry Cavill is British. Okay. And thanks, Thomas. Yvette says to Thomas and blows him a kiss. Yvette says, "I think I would make a great Q with ideas for gadgets." Absolutely. I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
seeing a
definitely.
female Q.
Absolutely.
Of course. My buddy, Trusty Hape says,
I'd
Christian
have
Bale.
Matrix Lord 212 be Q. He'd be great Q.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was just streaming video games before,
Yeah. Well, I liked that the fact that for now Ben Whishaw is playing Q, and I like a young Q because he could last in that role for a while.
I like John Gleason. He's funny as Q.
He is. I think he's a lot funnier than Desmond was, and I mean that man did it for 17 films. Come on. Trusty 8, my buddy, says Christian Bale. Well, maybe he might be a really far choice. Yvette does say Christopher Eccleston, who has been mentioned a few times. Yes, would be a good choice. And Yvette says Benedict hasn't got the charisma of Bond. Now, do you think that's true or false? That's a good question. Because if she's saying he doesn't have the charisma,
Well,
I think he does.
I think he did have charisma as Khan and Doctor Strange. Well, not so much
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, but Khan. No, yeah.
Gone! Andy Gorilla's finally says, "Hey, if Picard can shuffle into Star Trek at 150 years old, the Chuck Norris can come back." And Yvette says, "Gorillas." Yeah, that's interesting. They would say that. Yeah, Eccleston, like I said, he has been mentioned as a possible candidate. There are several others, I'm sure. But I think you and I and the three of us have all come up with pretty good choices for who's out there right now as a front runner. And they're going to have to make their decisions soon because there was that rumor that after No Time to Die, the one that was playing a 007, the female Lashana Lynch, they would keep saying, "Well, shoot, if Lashana could play it like that, maybe she could do it." And oh my God, the whole social media went into an uproar and said, "No female Bond, no female Bond," and all this stuff. And and that was Barbara Broccoli. I mean, she's executive producer, and she said, "Oh well, why not? Why can't we have a female Bond?" I was like, "Oh, don't even go there, lady. Please don't go there." As far as her husband, Michael G. Wilson says, it comes down to to general public, and he wants the general public to decide for themselves. And a majority of us, and I guarantee you, it's about a 70-30 or an 80-20 percentage point here. They want a male Bond. That's all there is to it. No other question. No other question.
Amen.
So, and I mean, they gotta have that, right? They gotta have that dark hair, or at least kind of like,
If
you
you
know,
want to
something
do a
like.
female Bond, do a female Bond with in your own movie. Just don't call her James Bond or Jane Bond.
That's right. That's right. And of course, after Yvette said gorillas, my buddy Trusty Ape says, same thing they're doing to Idris. Yeah. Well, because remember Idris Elba being a black actor, but he's a very good black actor, taking nothing away from what he's done. But yeah, they're making the point that they don't want to change the his heritage. They want to keep it Scottish. They want to keep it a white man. Unfortunately, that doesn't appeal to a lot of black people who say it should be a black actor to play him. Look, I don't have a problem as long as it's a male. Okay?
Yeah.
But don't ask me to put a female Bond in there. I will not. I will refuse because I am a diehard.
Yeah.
I think of myself as a diehard Bond purist, and I will not tolerate a female Bond. And I'm not being sexist.
You know they're going to do
It's
it.
just real. It's just real.
You know they're going to do it
Well, I hope not.
with the
I hope not.
mentality that's going around the world nowadays.
I
With
know.
you know what, it's I think it's going to happen.
Well, and Yvette makes a good point. It's in the name. James Bond is male. That's a good point, Yvette. Exactly. That's
I'm
I mean,
James
that's the
Bond.
whole point.
I identify as a male.
Yes. I grew up watching him as a
No,
male.
that's what the woman will say. I'm James Bond. I identify as a male.
I know. It's weird. Gorillas, of course, says you can't be a female Bond when all you have to do is whip out your tips and person tells you what you want. Gorillas! You're going to get me kicked
God.
off this thing. Come on. Oh, man. Don't do that. Please. It was bad enough when you mentioned the word, the T word earlier. Man. That's all right. I love you, brother. As I am, he said. Oh, I am. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Okay. All right. Well, we'll go about 10 more minutes and I think we'll have to shut down.
What's
'cause
the question you have?
Yeah, okay. So that was the second to last was asking you who should be the next Bond. So my final question then is, um, if someone, okay, if you put all the things together and someone asked you, like Gorilla, who's never seen a Bond film before, and you had to recommend one James Bond film to someone who's never seen one, what would you recommend? And you go first, Daniel. You go first, then we'll go with Jay. Then I'll go with myself, and then we'll end the stream. Go ahead, Daniel. Daniel. I don't know if
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was going to ask you, Daniel. Here's a great question. It's the final one for this stream. If you came across a person, a friend of yours, whoever it is, and they had never seen a James Bond film in their life, and since you know that there's at least 25 Bond films out there, of the 25, what would you recommend to your best friend or family member or someone who's never seen a Bond film?
Well, I don't know. I would recommend that they start with, Connery. He's the best. He's really, really good. Doctor No. I love the locations, and Doctor No Jamaica is beautiful. I always watch that. It calms me down whenever I'm under a lot of stress.
That's
when
cool.
stress is really beautiful. I wish I was there. It was so nice, and it's so nice. And also in Diamonds Are Forever, Las Vegas. That's such a beautiful,
man,
beautiful, shiny city.
1971 Las Vegas. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point. So there'd be two movies that you would at least say to him, "Look, go watch them."
Yeah, definitely.
Go watch them. Absolutely. Go ahead, Jay. Give me at least one or two that you would say to someone who's never seen Bond,
I
and one of
would
them's in the room.
I would give them actually three movies to watch,
Okay.
and I've already
Okay.
mentioned them.
Yes.
License to Kill,
Yeah.
uh,
And
God,
Die
what's the
Another Day.
second one? A View to a
A
Kill,
View to a Kill, right? And License to Kill.
and
Okay.
instead of Die Another Day, I would say Goldeneye.
GoldenEye. Good choices. Good
Yeah,
choices. Yeah. As far as me, the very first one I would tell you is go watch Goldfinger. Quintessential Bond. It's been out
yeah,
there. And find it. It's on Blu-ray. Go find the movie, Gorilla, hint hint, and buy it and watch it. You'll love it. It's just absolutely. It has everything: action, drama, some humor. Some a little bit of violence, but it is absolutely Sean Connery at his best. He
mm,
reached the peak, like a pinnacle, right there, and I was like, that's his best. For me, that's best performance. If you're really into, like I said, my other two choices, if you're really into, uh, Dalton as Bond, Timothy Dalton, then absolutely get License to Kill.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because if you want to get into his real dark side, you really want to see how ruthless he can be,
yeah,
that is the absolute ruthless Bond that everybody
yeah,
wanted to see earlier with Roger Moore, but couldn't quite get. So then you have Dalton. That's it for that. The last one I absolutely said, if anybody even cares about Daniel Craig's Bond, just see the first one. Go see Casino Royale. It's absolutely worth it. Look, if you can look past the blonde hair and he starts out with, as opposed to other Bonds that have black hair or whatever. If you can look past that hair line of his and whatever, but watch him in action, see what he does. He did a lot of his own stunts in that, believe it or not. So yeah, he's he's got the action down, he got the charisma down, he's got his ego tripping, out of control. But M's telling him keep the ego in check. He says, I think I can do that. And he also said, you know, so you want me to play part monk, part hitman? Like, okay.
mhm.
So yeah, for me, that would be the other choice. So um, let's see what we got then.
I have had my friends ask me, what Sean Connery Bond film would you recommend? And I'd say, honestly, none, because I'm not a Sean Connery Bond fan.
Sure,
Mine was Roger Moore.
Roger Moore. Yeah, and which
Yeah,
is fine because uh, before Connery, like I said earlier in the stream, before Connery even became Bond, the only thing that most people knew him in was Starfield killing the little people, and I'm like, and he was barely even in that. So I
and
give him
Roger
that.
Moore had already played a spy in The Saint.
And the same. So I can
Yeah,
totally understand why a lot of people would say Roger Moore first, then go with
yeah,
Connery later on. I totally understand.
yeah.
Yeah, Yvette, so she says, I'm identifying as a penguin today.
Tip.
And I bet you waddle just fine, Miss Yvette, as a penguin, if you're that. LDG says,
Oh
I
Lord.
identify as an AI virus. Wow, that's a scary virus, LDG. Yvette says, Gorillas Watch Moonraker. It's my favorite. Okay, that's a good
I like that
recommendation
too.
for if he wants to laugh at it. No, I'm just saying Gorillas has great humor, and if he wants to laugh at a Bond film, Moonraker would be the choice. I laughed at it. I usually identify Trusty Ape says as Kevin because it's the name my mama gave me. Okay, Kevin, that's cool. And he says, I'm a Roger Moore fan, but Connery was excellent as well. Just like we said, PJ. You
He was
identify
all
with
right. He was all
Roger.
right.
Yeah. And then Thomas Potts. And Thomas Potts, um, you are so wonderful to come in here with everybody today, and I really appreciate you um, you
This is
know,
true too
supporting me on the
about
stream. I love
what
this.
Thomas is saying. It's true. Watch them all in order.
Do it in order. Yeah, don't go out of order
Yeah.
if you can. If you can help it, go with Doctor No
Yeah.
and go from there. Yeah. So always
Because
suggest
there's
for the
some
first.
that you'll like, some you won't. But yeah, yes, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah, and Brosnan was great too. Yeah,
They
those
were
were
all
good.
good. It's just like
Oh
we
yeah,
said, the writing for Daniel Craig's movies was not that good.
not good at all. And actually, if you want to be honest, some of that writing actually started with Pierce and then went into Craig. So
Yes,
it was the Brosnan Craig
I
years
think the last
that
movie
suffered from
actually.
bad writing.
I
Yeah,
like the first two, but the last one of Pierce's, which I like, but the
right.
writing was kind of.
Yeah, you're being generous.
Well, brother, I got to
I would
go.
say the
I will
writing was
see
for
you on
crap, but
Jeopardy Saturday. Okay.
yes, buddy. Okay, I will see you for Jet
All right.
Nerdy on. And John DeMarco was here too, so earlier. So thank you,
Yeah.
John, for coming. And make sure you go and hang out with him and Jamie at Jet Nerdy on Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful stream. Thank you,
I'll
Jamie.
catch
Thank you
y'all
so
later,
much.
brother.
Take care, brother. Love you, man. Take care. And we'll go ahead and end the stream here pretty soon. The last slot we got is from my brother Gorilla saying, rank them in order of most movies to least. Good call, but no. We'd have to talk in a private chat to go there, buddy. I can't do this here. No, no, no. And besides, my wife has a better body and I love her, and so there you go. That's my answer to that one. Daniel, have you got any tell me any plans you got? Any future streams coming up or anything on
Uh,
your channel?
no, no, I'm not. I'm not having any future streams. I haven't done any videos, anyways. So yeah.
Okay. But I do see you lurking every once in a while, like I do. So we try to get into conversations and stuff. I don't know if you caught the stream at the beginning. Maybe you did. But I did apologize to Anti Derivative Jill and PvP and Pop and even in Captain Affinity. I was sorry for the things I said because I was very bitter about how Affinity was treating me. I did take him off my subscriptions. I don't have him there anymore because he's just out of control and I can't handle him. So I tried my best. But I just apologize to everybody. I was saying I'm not that mean. I don't usually you know wish harm on anyone or something, but it was just a bad night last night. And I figured this would probably be a better time to deliver the stream because I was figuring it out, and I was like, and then John came and briefly helped me, so that was great. And then I was like, okay, I got this, so I can do this. So I really appreciate you coming here, Daniel. Really, you helped me a lot, and I was afraid I was the only one in the panel today, and I got three of us, so that helps for me. That really helped me out, and I really appreciate you're an awesome man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And okay, let's get the last three here. It's an action movie. Nobody cares about the dialogue. That depends on Trusty, which one you're recommending, Trusty. But yeah, most of them are just mostly action. But there are some ones that do have decent dialogue that you can actually uh, agree with. And he says, I joke. Trusty. And then Gorilla ends it with, that code for wife is in room. And you just figured that out, didn't you? You just figured that out. Yes. Well, I love my wife. Okay, so and it goes beyond any Bond girls or anything that I'd seen in the past, and because I've seen them too many times, I can't in all likelihood say I'm going to watch another one unless we feel like watching them. But I think we know. I mean, two of us have seen every one of them, and yeah. And of course, my wife personally likes Daniel Craig. Well, obviously because he's a relative, he's a blood relative. So, yeah, it's obvious she enjoys his acting. I like his acting too. He did a few great things too before that. Deliverance was a great one with Schreiber, and he also did the Golden Compass, which was sort of an okay movie, but he did a good acting job in that. So, anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and cut off the stream. We did say about 3 hours. We were hoping 3.5, but I'm hungry. I want some lunch. Then my wife conveniently and very pleasantly brought home. So I'm gonna go eat, and then I'll check out other streams. Oh, I wanted to see your dog. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, he came here to say hello.
Oh, what's his name again?
This is Coco.
Coco. Oh, Coco. Handsome boy. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Handsome Coco. So we thank Coco for coming too. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's reacting. I know he is. He hears my voice. I've been known as a pet whisperer, both of us actually. Anyway, so let's quickly just thank everyone. Thank you so much, Daniel's Hot Topics, for coming and being a part of this panel today.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again. Thanks again so much to Jay Aldridge for coming in and helping us out and being a part of the panel. He's a brother to me. I love him. He's great. You're a brother to me too, Daniel. Thank you so much for helping me out. Trustee 8, my other brother Daniel, thank you for coming in. Yvette, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thomas Potts, you're the bomb. Thank you for coming in and helping us out. My buddy brother Gorilla, thank you. Always be a gorilla for me, buddy. Okay. And John DeMarco, thank you again for coming in yourself. And also LDG, Free the Net. And don't forget, he has his own channel. It's freethenet.org and /underground. And you can hang out there all you like, talk to all sorts of like minded people, smart people, great people there. I'd recommend it if you don't have any other streams that you want to check out for yourself. And on that note, I want to thank everyone that came to the stream today again. And I hope I can do more of these. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. And I would like some ideas. So if you guys go to the community page of our channel, Mikey_Sus4, and you go to the community side there, put in some ideas. Let us know what I should do for my next stream. Should it be a franchise? Should it be a specific movie? Should it be a specific TV series I might have seen or come across? Let me know, and I'll go through that in a couple days and see if we got some ideas, some suggestions, and then I'll plan on the next live stream to cover that, and we'll discuss it and see what happens. So, with that being said, again, Daniel, thank you. Salute to you, my brother. Thank you, Gorilla. Thank you, everyone, for coming to Mikey Sus4 stream on James Bond franchise. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime. Take care, everyone.